Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing this Monday afternoon? Everything adjusted here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Monday. It has been a busy last few days for me, but I am here, ready to praise the Lord, ready to teach some stuff. Hope y'all are ready to listen. As always, just give a minute or so, people to get in. Try to make sure I'm even. He's always looking. There we go. Oh. Get my clock set. I know y'all be thinking, sometimes y'all probably think like, man, this dude not know what the time it is. I be knowing what time it is. I be looking at the clock. Just, man, I be going. How you doing, Miss Alicia? Glad you were able to be here today. Hope everything's going good. Hope you and Leo are doing well down there in Dixon. Hopefully I get to get back down that way. I haven't, since I'm working with my guy from my Hope Center Ministries, that house is kind of out east. So I really haven't been soul winning down to Dixon in quite some time. I'm hoping I'll be able to get back whenever I have a day free, because sometimes they have like activities on the weekends or whatnot on Saturdays when I go out. So next time they do, I will be in Dixon and I will stop by and I will say hello. But it has been a little while since I've been down there. I've been mostly going out east, just save time, because that's where the house is at. It's kind of out east. So the surgeon went well. Thank God. Y'all can probably see a little bit. It went good. Went actually way better than I was expected. Not expected. It was different what I was praying for, but it wasn't because they had to remove a lymph node. So I didn't know what all that entailed. And it wasn't. It was just like a simple like bloop. Like I went in, and probably the worst part of it was when they had to numb it, because they didn't even have to put me under. They just gave me like a little numbing, what they call it, local anesthetic or whatnot. And so that's what they did. I felt that when they went in, and then I felt him kind of like, feel like he kind of feeling it. And I thought he was kind of feeling it out to see where he wanted to make the incision kind of thing. And he kind of feeled around for a second. And then he was like, all right, I'm done. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. And pulled it out. And if y'all want them gory people like gory stuff, I can send you a picture. I got a picture of it, but it was a little gross little thing. But they pulled it out. So that I'm in the clear on that. Didn't even hurt. Really didn't hurt at all. I took a couple of Tylenol the first day, and that's been it. It's actually hurt less since I've had the surgery than it did before I had the surgery. Because before I had the surgery, I had like these two kind of blisters that pop up on it, which was oozing out the poison or whatever, the pus and all that stuff, and they stayed hurting. And now they've had the surgery, like it don't hurt at all. So it went well. Thank you all for the prayers. They are gonna send it off to pathology just to check it, just to make sure. They said they're pretty sure it was just an infection, but they are going to send it off to pathology just to make sure that's all that was there, to check it for cancer and things of that nature. So I'm glad. I appreciate you asking me about it. But yeah, that is done, and I won't know until maybe the end of this week, maybe sometime next week, if they found anything. But like I said, I'm pretty confident that there wasn't cancer; it was just that infection. So that's good. I'm back with y'all. Recovering. Only thing, the worst part of it is I can't work out until it like completely heals. And y'all know I love my workouts. I try to stay consistent with my workouts. And up until this happened, I've been almost 3 years without missing a day of working out. And now it's been almost I think it's been a little bit over a month since I got to work out. So I'm dreading having to start back, and I'm hoping I will be motivated to start back. But I think I will, because I miss it. I'm like, man, I can't wait this thing heal so I can get back to my working out. I'm starting to feel flabby. But like I said, great. Everything went great. Thank y'all. Thank you for the action for me. And thank you for the prayer. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump in. I'm giving people enough time to get in here tonight. We got a new lesson tonight. So I'm kind of excited about that. A little subject. We're still going to be in Samuel. But this chapter of Samuel is going to go in a different direction. So if you saw the title, of it when I post on Facebook, the title of tonight's lesson is A Farewell to Remember. And that's why, because if you look in my the way my Bible is set up, y'all know I got the King James version, and I also got the New Living Translation right beside it. And in the New Living Translation version, they basically take the paragraphs and they kind of give you like little subheadings to kind of let you know what the paragraph is going to be talking about, the main idea of the paragraph, I guess. And they kind of break it down in each little segment, each chapter, this little segment, tell you kind of what they're talking about, which is really helpful. So you kind of know what you're getting into, kind of thing. And we're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 12. I'm sorry if I didn't mention that. 1 Samuel chapter 12. If you got your Bibles, you follow along. And the title, like I said, the title of the chapter, it says Samuel Farewell Address. Now, of course, we know Samuel, he's not dying off. He's not leaving. If you see that, you might automatically think, oh, he's about to die. He's about to pass on. But no, it's his farewell address, because y'all remember, they asked God for a king. So up until this point, just to kind of a brief history lesson, or just kind of recap a little bit of the events that's happened so far. So remember, for the last, hundreds of years, through the book of Judges, through Moses, starting at Moses, and then Joshua, and then the book of Judges. So over the last few hundred years, the Lord has always been the leader of Israel. They've always had a man of God lead them, one of the priests or one of the preachers or one of the prophets lead them. And then, and he just basically was the mediator between the people and God. That's how it's been. That's how it was always supposed to be. So you remember just a little while ago, Samuel, he was the first prophet they had in quite some time, because they had turned their back on God, which we see over in the book of Judges. They was constantly in this cycle of turning their back on God, getting back with God, going turning back on God, kind of thing. Then Samuel finally was raised up. His mama dedicated him to the Lord. The Lord raised him up as one of his prophets, and he was the first prophet they had in a while. Because if you go back to the beginning of Samuel, you can read where it says that in those times it was rare to hear a word from the Lord, because, like I said, the majority of people they turned their back on God. So Samuel came up, and for the last, I don't know, they don't really talk about exactly how old he is. I'm pretty sure it says it when he passes away. But for the last 60, 70 years, so to speak, he's been their guide, their leader. He's been the one that lead them to where they need to go. He's been the mediator between them and God. He's been the leader of the nation. Well, again, a few chapters ago, if y'all remember, and I know it's been a while since we went over it, the people that they decided that they didn't want to live, they didn't want to live in God's way. They didn't want to live by God's will. They wanted to live by their own ways and their own will, and they wanted to live like the world. So they asked Samuel to give them a king. And y'all remember Samuel was upset when they asked that, because he realized I don't think they thought much about what they were really asking him, but he realized the bigness of it. And so he was upset about it. And y'all remember God told him, hey, don't be upset. It's not you they're rejecting. It's me they're rejecting. They don't want to be said, since I brought them out of Egypt, they haven't wanted me to be their God. They're always trying to go back to Egypt in their old ways. He said, so give them what they asked for. Basically, give them a king. And then y'all remember Samuel went through and he kind of told them, what they expect if they want a king, the kind of things the king gonna do, what they expect, the kind of the way the king's gonna treat them. And even though he basically gave them that warning, they still said, yeah, we want us a king. So they, so Samuel ended up anointing them a king. Y'all remember he anointed Saul as king. So y'all saw last couple of weeks we went over the process of Saul being found and the process of Saul being anointed as king, and we've been we've been kind of talking about the will of God, how the will of God worked in Saul becoming king. So that's what happened. That we finished out when Saul was finally, the last time we was here in chapter 10 and 11. No, chapter 10, he was finally officially announced king. And then in chapter 11, he did his first kingly thing. He rescued them from some oppression that they was under. I think it was the Ammonites. The Ammonites. They was under the oppression of the Ammonites. And you remember the Ammonites was like for all the people on the east side of the Jordan River. He was gouging out the eyes of everybody. So, and Saul was able to they came over to the west side to get away from that king. And then the king came over to the west side to try to oppress him more, and Saul ended up rescuing them. And then they officially, like the whole nation as a whole, made him king. And that's where we left off at. And then for the last 3 weeks, you remember, we went over to Corinthians for a little while, just to kind of a little change of pace and go to a little different subject. We went over to 1 Corinthians, and also because I wanted to keep y'all updated with what was going on with the people that I actually meet with in person. So we went over the last 3 weeks. We went over 1 Corinthians, I believe it's chapter 3, how to be a proper Christian. And we did talked about how to be a proper Christian. I gave you things on lessons on how to be a proper Christian. So now we got that finished up. Chapter 3 finished up. You're all caught up with the Lost Sheep Ministry. So now we back to Samuel. But again, we're going to be in Samuel chapter 12. And the title of the chapter, like I said, the little subheading they give the chapter is called Samuel's Farewell Address. And the reason why I came up with that, I think about, a lot of times we don't get a lot, especially like with death and things of that nature. We never know when that moment gonna come. And some people they know, like they might be suffering with cancer and the doctor told them, hey, you only got so long to live, and the health start deteriorating. So they kind of know they're getting close to the end, and because they know they're getting close to the end, they may be able to say their last farewells, make amends with whoever they was beefing with or whatever. They get the chance to do that, but you don't always get the chance to do that. And like I said, Samuel, he's not dying, but he's no longer going to be their leader. He's basically stepping down as their leader because they asked for this king. And Saul, like I said, Saul was the Lord anointed Saul to be king. And then in chapter 11, the people basically accepting him as king because he was able to rescue them from the Ammonites. So now there's no need for Samuel anymore. So he's not leaving, because if you know your Bible, this is only 1 Samuel. And the reason why it's 1 Samuel is because there's another book. There's 2 Samuel. So Samuel's not about to die. Like I said, he's just about to vacate the office, so to speak, as the leader of the people. So as he's getting ready to vacate the office, he's going to give them some things to think about. He's going to get on them about themselves and make them look at themselves really and try to make sure they remember. It's just like if the way I look at it is, like, yeah, a president leaving or a CFO of a company leaving to go retire, and they want to leave a good legacy and want to make sure everything stays successful. But this is more like a father, if he's on his deathbed and he kind of leaving a letter to his son kind of thing. And he wants like, hey, make sure you remember to do these things. Make sure you remember to follow these instructions. Make sure you remember the way I lived. Make sure you remember the legacy I try to leave behind for you, kind of thing. He's a farewell. Like, he just want the people, I'm leaving, but I want y'all to remember what I taught you. I want you to remember the way I lived. I want you to remember these concepts that I taught you to help you have a close relationship with the Lord. And that's why I call it a farewell to remember, because we're going to go through some things, and it's going to take a next. It's so much in here. Matter of fact, with the points I got tonight, we're probably only going to get through like the first 5 verses, and it's 23 in all. So it's going to probably take us at least 2 or 3 weeks to get through this all. But, and I'm not going to, like as always, I'm not going to rush it. I really want to take my time. And like I said, give you some things to remember, the things that we should be thinking about on a daily basis as we try to walk with God, as we try to, hopefully you're living your life to try to please the Lord. So these are things you should remember as you're trying to live their life to please the Lord, as you're trying to live the life to do the things that the Lord will have you to do, live your life to get to put yourself in a situation where you have a close walk with God. These are things that you need to remember. And I'm taking it from this speech that Samuel gave to the people as he was vacating the office of the leader of the people. Because again, he was God's, he was the mediator between the men, the people, and God. He was the one that was supposed to be leading them in the way that God wanted them to lead them. And they basically asked them to lead. He was leading them in the way, and they asked him to lead. So as he was leaving, he's like, all right, I'll leave, but I want y'all to remember some stuff as I leave. And he's going to call them into accountability on some things. He's going to call them accountability on their actions. He's going to bring some stuff up, and he's going to tell them some things that they need to make sure they remember and make sure they keep doing so they can be successful while he's away. So this is, again, so number 12. So if you got your Bible, following along, we're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 12. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pray, and I'm going to jump into this lesson. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us tonight, Lord, today, and bringing us here this evening to get into your word, Lord. I'm always so grateful for your word. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I have to share your word so freely, Lord. I know there's people in other countries don't have this luxury. Can't just jump on the internet and have your word broadcast to hundreds and millions. The possibility of coming across hundreds and millions, Lord. So I thank you for that, letting us be able to still have the opportunity here in America, Lord. And I just thank you so much for this word you've given us to guide our hearts and our minds, Lord. And I thank you so much for this lesson that you put on my heart. As I started reading through it, it just really touched the Spirit just led me in the direction of the way that I'm going with this lesson. And it's a farewell address, a farewell to remember. And I just want to pray tonight that you let your Spirit work through me and use me, Lord, so I can give the people things that they need to remember as they try to walk with you. Because sometimes we forget things. We forget to put our faith and trust in you. We forget sometimes the goodness that you've shown us over the years just because some bad comes up. A lot of times we forget just how powerful you really are. And I pray that as we go through this lesson, that we're able to remember just how wonderful and how powerful you are and how you've always been there for us in our times of need, Lord. So I pray you see your spirit down upon me as I go through this lesson, as they use me in this time tonight to help others have a closer relationship with you. And I pray you send your spirit down upon the hearts of all those that's watching, whether they watch it live or they watch it later on, Lord. Send your spirit down upon their heart, soften up the ground of their heart so they may be willing to take this wisdom in and plant it in their hearts and bring them under conviction and give them the want to do the things they need to do to have that close relationship with you as well. We just thank you so much for all you've done and given. Thank you for this day and this opportunity. And I say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so let's get this in this hot quality H2O. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, I'm going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 12. You got your Bible, follow along. And of course, as always, if you're watching me, and this ain't your first time watching me, you know that I always preach out of the New Living Translation on here. When I preach in my live stuff that I do at church, I preach out the New Living, the King James Version. And when I read the King James Version. But again, my Minister Lost Sheep Ministry is for people that don't have that close relationship with the Lord just yet. It's for people that maybe not even had an education because they've been hustling their whole life. So I preach out the New Living Translation just to put it in plain English to make sure they really understand what's being said. And I always read both versions. So if there's some a major difference between the King James and the New Living Translation, I always point it out. But I'm not a heretic. I'm just making sure that my people understand what's being said. So with that being said, we're going to start off here in 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 1. And the Lord tells us this. He said, so then Samuel, so again, this is Samuel, he's on his way out, so to speak, and he's making his farewell address. The people have asked him to leave, so that he's going to do just that. He's going to leave, but before he leaves, he's going to remind them of some things. And like I said, this is going to be a farewell to remember. And I'm just going to go over some things that we need to make sure we remember as we try to serve the Lord, as you try to do the things the Lord wants us to do. These are things that we need to remember so we can have that close walk with the Lord as well. So to start off in verse 1, the Lord tells us this. He says, so then Samuel addressed the people again. He said, I have done as you asked and given you a king. So he told him, he said, I've done as you asked. You asked me to give you a king, and I've done what you asked to give me a king. And I apologize, y'all. Y'all probably heard me say asked. I talk. I get messed with about it all the time. And like, there's one guy that worked with me, like, he said, you going to ask me? He said, you going to ask me today? That's just how I talk. But, you know what I'm saying? But the thing, but Samuel told him, he says, then Samuel addressed the people again. He said, I have done as you asked and given you a king. So number one, and this is an important thing to remember, as you try to serve the Lord, as you go through your life, as you see things happening to you, good or bad, something that you don't want to forget. Number one is this: don't forget you get what you ask for. Don't forget that you get what you ask for. So be sure you are asking for the right things. You know what I'm saying? What am I saying? You get what you ask for. You remember over in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7, that Jesus, he was talking about prayer. He's talking about prayer and how important prayer is. And he made this statement. Jesus said, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened unto you. So what is he saying there? You got to ask for things. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you want, whatever you need, you need to ask for those things. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be careful what you ask for, because a lot of times you get what you ask for. And sometimes we get in situations where we ask for, my grandma used to say, you heard the statement, you bit off more than you can chew. You was asking for this thing, and you got this thing, and it turns out you couldn't handle this thing. You weren't really ready for this thing. I know I whine and complain from time to time about only having a couple of views on my videos and with all this work I put in, and I might ask for having a bigger ministry, and I might get that bigger ministry and realize, like, man, I should just been happy with what I had. You know what I'm saying? Because the more exposure you get, the bigger the ministry is, the more criticism and the more evils that you have to fight, because you being able to influence a larger crowd or whatever. But you got to understand, you get what you ask for. If you ask for it, you're going to get it. So you got to be careful what you ask for. So you got to understand, how do you ask for things? There's two ways that you can ask for things. And so one of them we know, and the other ones we might not be cognizant of. You know what I'm saying? There are two ways that you ask for things. One of them is about words. We all know that. You know what I'm saying? My kids hungry. Hey, can we go get something to eat? My wife need to go to the store. Hey, can I grab the keys to the vehicle? I need to go to the store. You know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You got something you need, you ask for. We do the same with God. We do it in prayer. We go to God and, oh, Lord, please give me this and that, or, oh, Lord, please give me that. You know what I'm saying? We use our words to ask for stuff. But there's another way that we ask for things that we don't realize it all the time. And sometimes that way gets us in trouble. And that's our actions. So there's two ways to action for things. You got your words and you got your actions. You know what I'm saying? When you live your life outside of the will of God. And this is why I say your actions is important. It's important to watch your actions, not only your words, your actions, especially if you're trying to serve the Lord. When you live your life outside the will of God, you don't realize that you're asking for trouble when you do that. When you live your life outside the will of God, you are asking for trouble. You know what I'm saying? One of the most infuriating, most frustrating part of my ministry is, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, my ministry is Lost Sheep Ministry. I'm about helping the people that are broken down and out, you know what I'm saying? Poor, just, you know, just the world is just beat over, you know, times over, the dead horse that's been kicked a million times. That's what I'm all for that. That's the whole point of my ministry. That's what I'm out there trying to look for. That's what I'm out there trying to help. Those are the people I'm trying to help. But a lot of the thing about this ministry, though, even though I'm trying to help these people, I'm trying to give them the wisdom they know to make their life better, a lot of them don't like to listen. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them don't like to listen, and they don't realize that a lot of the reason they're going through what they're going through is because of their own actions. It's their own action. They're acting because of the way they live, because they refuse to make that change, especially when they hear the truth and they continue to stay on that same path their own. They don't realize they're asking for the drama in their life. They're asking for the chaos to come into their life. They're asking for these bad things that's happening to them. And they don't realize. Now, I'm not saying somebody, oh Lord, please send some bad juju my way. No, nobody asks for it like vocally. Nobody use their words to ask for it. But again, their actions. You know, their actions. Now, I've told y'all before, you walk talk and you talk, but your talk louder. Your walk talk louder than your talk. So again, your walk. What is your walk? Your actions, the things that you do, and you don't realize that because they refuse to change, a lot of times they don't realize, and that's the most frustrating part of my ministry. I see these people and I try to help them, you know what I'm saying, that my heart goes to them. I do everything I can to help them out of the situation they're in, but they just constantly doing the same thing. They constantly messing with the same people. They constantly going down the same road. They constantly rejecting the gospel. They're rejecting the advice that I give them. You know, I remember I had this one time, I had this young lady and she was, you know, having some relationship problems. And I was like, man, I tell you what, how about, you know what I'm saying, if you just give me like a week, I can tell you everything that you need to do. If you follow everything you need to do, then, you know what I'm saying, you'll be fine. You know what I'm saying, if you wouldn't do that. She said, okay. And it lasted about a day or two, and then she went right back to doing the same old stuff. And, of course, she was right back in the same situation. And you got to understand, if you keep on going back to the same situation, the same thing, you don't make that change, then guess what? You asking for that drama to be in your life. You asking for that chaos to be in your life. You asking for them problems. You know what I'm saying? For example, if you're on probation for drugs and alcohol, but yet you're always drinking and doing drugs, then guess what? You're asking to be locked up. You know, you're asking for it. Now, if you know that you're on probation for drinking, then why are you drinking? If you know you're on probation, like if you got a DUI, you got a DUI and you're on probation because of it, but yet you continue to drink, then you're asking for trouble. You're asking for jail time. You're asking for having to be forced to go to rehab. Heck, you're asking for the possibility of end up in prison for taking somebody's life. Because you've already been warned. You've been warned. You've been told you need to stop doing this thing, but yet you're constantly doing this thing. The law had to step in. You didn't have enough discipline to tell yourself to stop doing this thing. The law had to stop, come in and tell you to stop doing this thing. You even require monthly to go see an officer to check and see if you're still doing this thing. And yet people are still doing this thing. How many times have I been to jail and I've talked to guys and they're in there because they violated their probation? What you do? Man, I was smoking weed. Why are you smoking weed if you know that you have somebody that's specifically looking to test you for weed? You see what I'm saying? Because you're asking for their trouble. A lot of people don't realize they're asking for their trouble. And this next one, it ain't gonna be popular. This next example ain't gonna be popular, but you gotta understand when you're in an abusive relationship. I know some people get stuck in these relationships and they can't get out, and that happens. Again, my heart goes out. My ministry, Lost Sheep Ministry. I minister to a lot of broken and battered and abused women. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of them have no way out. Maybe they've been so dependent on this guy so long that they have no way out. They don't know anything else. But there's some that have a way out. They actually leave and then they go back. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in an abusive relationship and you keep on going back to this person that you know is hurting you, this person, they say they love you, but their action don't show they love you, but yeah, you keep going back, then guess what? Sounds harsh, but you're asking to be hurt. You're asking to be hurt. You're asking to be hurt. You're asking to maybe even be killed. And I'm not just saying no women, it's men too. It's men get abused out here. It ain't just women, especially these days, these girly men that we have. It ain't just, all men that's, women that's being abused out here. Now, I ain't gonna lie, majority of the people I deal with in an abusive relationship are women being abused by men. But I mean, that ain't always the case. You know what I'm saying? It's not absolute. But if you in an abusive relationship, and it can be like with a man just going with a girl that cheats on him all the time. I've seen that happen one time, plenty of time. Matter of fact, if y'all remember, not too long ago, there was an officer over in Smyrna, a police officer, a female police officer, and she slept with like half the police department. You know what I'm saying? Over there in Smyrna. And and it came out. I know y'all saw that. It was all over TV. And she was married. And then, I'm, as a husband, the Bible talks about, to death do you part, but it does say, except for adultery, that's the only, legal or godly excuse you can use. If they've been unfaithful outside the relationship, you can leave that person. God, there will be a righteous leaving them in a righteous way, not just because, we don't get along no more, or she don't cook no more, or whatever. But if somebody has been unfaithful to their relationship and they had sexual relationships outside of your relationship, you can leave that person. You know what I'm saying? So I'm expecting this guy. I mean, she had sex with like 5 or 6 guys in the police department. It ain't no telling. That's just the police we know about. It ain't no telling who else in her world that she was coming across, that she was giving up to. So you expect the husband to be like, all right, I'm done, leave. No, they stayed together. You know what I'm saying? They stayed together. So again, that guy has a good heart. I'm not saying he's a dummy or bad. He has a good heart. He's willing to forgive. But at the same time, realistically, he's asking to get his heart broken. He's asking to be cheated on. She's done it 5 or 6 times, if not more. I mean, well, for 5 or 6 different people, it ain't no tell her how many times she had sex with each one of those individuals. So, I mean, it's probably 20, 30, hundreds of times that she cheated on this dude, and yet he's staying. So again, yes, that's an honorable thing. We're going to work it out. I love my wife. But he's asking to have his heart broken. He's asking to be disappointed. He's asking to be cheated on because he's already been in that relationship. So, like I said, same with women and men in these abusive relationships. If you stay in those, you keep going back, you're getting in, going out, you're asking to be hurt. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, because I know this sounds horrible. It does sound horrible, but it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? If you got to have enough wisdom to see, hey, this person doesn't mean me well. This relationship ain't healthy. I need to get out of this. At some point, you got to have some wisdom to see that. This person's going to hurt me if I stay. And if you don't, you might mess around and be too late. I've told y'all the story before. There was a young lady I came across out soul winning, doing my thing down in Dixon, actually. And I was actually going to visit this family that I know pretty well, because I've led the dad to the Lord, and I talked to the mom. She never did want to get saved, and she ended up going to jail and got saved in jail. So that was a blessing. And the daughter, as far as I know, to this day, she still is not unsaved, and she was having some drug issues. So I was coming to visit the daughter, hoping that maybe she'll finally let me share the gospel with her. And she just happened to have a visitor, which was her cousin. And her cousin, beautiful young lady, beautiful, young, smart, very smart. She was going to Belmont School, and me and her got to talking. She was saved, but she was telling me how she was in this abusive relationship with this guy in Memphis. Because I said I'm from Memphis, and that's kind of how I brought up. So, oh yeah, and this guy was a drug dealer, just a bad dude. And this dude used to beat her all the time. He would, make her stay in the house, wouldn't let her go out the house, and if she talked back or whatever, I mean, he would just beat her, like beat her kind of thing. And we sit there and talk, and she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, lady, leave that dude alone. Like, obviously he don't care about you. And she's like, yeah, this one time he picked me up and choked me till I passed out. And I thought I was going to die. And I think one of his friends had to pull him off. I'm like, lady, he's trying to kill you. And if you keep going back, and long story short, I told basically, hey, he's trying to kill you. If you keep going back, he's going to end up killing you. Leave that guy alone. You know what I'm saying? Leave him alone, block him, get a new phone or whatever you got to do. Leave that man alone, because if not, you're going to get seriously hurt, if not killed. And you know what I'm saying? So we talked, and she was like, and the very next day, and we ended up becoming friends on Facebook. She looked me up on Facebook, and you know what I'm saying? She sent, oh, I'm so thankful that God sent you by to talk to me, and I'm going to leave him alone. I'm going to go on my life, and I'm going to enroll in Belmont and start studying. She was like nursery or pharmacy or something like that. It was something in the medical field. And she did. I was keeping up with her on Facebook, and she went to school, and she was, you know what I'm saying? She had like a 4.0 GPA. I mean, she was doing good. And I'm like, wow, man, that's really amazing. So it was like, I remember she made it through her first semester of school. And I remember I stopped kind of like a few months. I'm sorry. Before that even happened, about 3 weeks later, after I talked to her, and she promised me she wasn't going to go back with this dude, she going to leave this dude alone. About 3 weeks later, I just randomly get a video from her. And she said, man, I really wish I would have listened to you. And the video, she wasn't in the video, but the video was just of her clothes she had on. And she had on like a blouse and some pants, and her blouse and pants was covered in blood. I mean, covered in blood. And she was just like, he tried to kill me, but I managed to get away, kind of thing. He said, I really wish I would have listened to you. She said, I'm not going to be in the video because I look so horrible. I don't want to appear in the video, but no, this happened. And she said, I would really wish I would listen to you. And I like, man, hopefully you would listen now. Please leave this guy alone. I'm glad you made it out, but I think next time you're not going to be so lucky. So again, that's when she enrolled in school, started doing great in school. Like I said, graduated. Went to school, had like a 4.0 GPA, doing great. I was happy. And then I noticed after, like I said, a few months down the road, that I stopped seeing posts from her. And I'm like, man, she hadn't posted anything in a while. I'm like, well, she's in school, maybe she's busy. So, a few months go past. I go back to visit that family that I was talking about, that I knew her cousin, to talk to her cousin. And I'm like, hey, man, how's your cousin doing? She said, oh, she's dead. I'm like, what? I mean, this girl was like 23, 24 years old. I'm like, what? I'm like, what happened? Like, well, she started messing back with that dude, and she tried to leave him again. And we don't know what happened, but we know we found her like sitting in the parking lot, like with a needle in her arm. And they saying they ruled it as an overdose, like she died by overdose, but she wasn't even messing with drugs at the time. And we believe that the guy gave her what they call a hot shot, which, you know what I'm saying, basically is purposely gave her an overdose to kill her. You know what I'm saying? But the young lady, beautiful young lady, smart young lady, gone. It wasn't even a year after me and her had that talk that they found her dead in that parking lot. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not saying she actually, it's her fault, but she had the opportunity to get out of this situation. And her actions, her guns of going back to that guy, ended up, it was devastating. I mean, it ended up taking her life. A very beautiful, talented young lady is gone from this earth because she didn't listen. She didn't have that change of heart that she need. So that's what I'm saying. You got to realize everything you do, you know what I'm saying, your words and your actions, it attracts certain things. You know what I'm saying? If you're negative all the time and you're always doing negative things, you're going to attract negativity to you. You know what I'm saying? If you're in the same breath, if you're positive all the time and you're always doing positive things, you're going to attract positive things towards you. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people call it karma and all that. I don't believe in karma. That's like a Hindu thing. But the Bible do say you reap what you sow. You know what I'm saying? You reap what you sow. So if you're out there reaping good, you're going to sow good. If you reap bad, you're going to sow bad. And again, she wasn't being a bad person, but she should have made some better decisions. I believe had she made some better decisions, stayed away from the guy, she'll still be with us today. She'll probably be, working in the hospital somewhere today. So again, that's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? If you're in an abusive relationship, same thing, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't really ain't gonna like this. But again, I gotta keep it real. And I'm sorry you get upset. But if you're going out, you know what I'm saying, going to the clubs, you going out there, you half naked, your breasts are hanging out, your booty is hanging out the bottom of your dress, and you out there taking shots of Patron, taking every drink that any man bring your way, you know what I'm saying, and you drunk, and you out there, especially go by yourself, you out there doing that, guess what, you're asking for something bad to happen. I'm not saying it deserved to happen to you. I'm not saying it should happen to you. You should be able to go out and live your life and have fun and not worried about somebody putting their hands on you. They should. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not justifying the person. Whoever, if you go out there and that happen, you get abused somehow. Whoever need to be persecuted to the farthest extent of the law. I'm not saying that you deserve it. None like that. But I am saying you're asking for your actions is attracting those things. You out there, you putting yourself out there, you're half naked, you drinking, you in a place where other people are drinking. You know alcohol. Why do people drink alcohol? To lower the inhibitions. So you're in a room full of people, testosterone driven, especially like in college parties and things like that. You hear about that happening all the time. Girls getting drunk and getting raped. I remember the guy from Vanderbilt a little while ago, like a few years back, with 3-4 guys. I think they was on the football team or something like that. The girl got drunk and had sex with all the guys. Then she got up the next day and said they raped her. I don't know if she did or not. I'm not saying she deserved it, but you're putting yourself in those situations by your actions. I'm not saying you deserve that, but it'd be the same that if I had, you know what I'm saying, a stack of money and I go down through the hood, I walk around Memphis with a whole stack of money, just, you know what I'm saying, showing my money off. You know what I'm saying, got gold, you know, platinum diamond chains all on my neck and watches all on my arms and rings and stuff like that. And I'm just strolling to the hood, you know, showing all this stuff up. I know how Memphis is. I know how guys is. I knew guys that kept a ski mask in their pocket just in case they came across somebody that they caught slipping. You know what I'm saying? So for me to go, it'd be the same for me to go out there flossing, or me to walk through a neighborhood that's infested with gang infested with like Crips, and I got on all red, or me going into a neighborhood that's full of Bloods and I got on all blue. You know what I'm saying? I do any of those things. I'm asking for trouble. I'm asking for conflict. I'm attracting that stuff because I know there's something I shouldn't be doing, and I shouldn't be putting myself in that situation. So that you got to understand, and that was Samuel one of them. That don't forget, I did what y'all asked me to give you that king. Y'all asked me, you know what I'm saying? Y'all asked me to do that. If you're a violent person, and you live on violence and you're always looking for violence and you always want to fight and you always want to start stuff, you're asking for trouble. You're asking to have that drama and that chaos in your life. You see what I'm saying? That's what you got to understand. Your actions is going to attract those things that you're doing. Your actions is going to attract those actions are going to attract things that more than your words will. You see what I'm saying? So you got to be careful how you behave. You got to be careful the things you do. You got to be careful what you ask for. You know, the same thing, something I come across all the time. You know what I'm saying? If you out here, you're unsaved, and you know you're unsaved. You know you're unsaved. You're unsaved, and you know you need to be saved. But yet you're choosing not to get saved. Then guess what? You're asking for hell. You're asking for hell. You know, that's why I tell people all the time when I go to gospel with them, I tell them all the time, like, man, God don't want to send nobody to hell. I said, matter of fact, God has never sent anybody to hell. Anybody that's in hell right now that died and they went to hell, they're there because that's what they asked for. Because of the way they lived their life, the things they did in their life, the actions they made in their life, or more important, the actions that they didn't make. That's why they're there in hell. You know what I'm saying? They asked for that. You know, and I can't tell you how many, y'all heard me, I've talked about it several times, because I do a lot of, soul winning over in the hood and things of that nature. And I come across guys that, you know what I'm saying, I remember this happened just a few weeks ago. Guy, he was like, man, he knew he wasn't saved. You know, and he's like, man, I know I ain't saved. He said, he's not only, because it's one thing to know you ain't saved, like, but I don't really believe in that kind of thing. He's like, I know I ain't saved, and I know I need to get saved, but yet I'm a hustler. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I'm a hustler, and I know I'm still a hustler. I know I ain't going to get my hustle up, and I don't want to be playing with God like that. And I say, man, don't you realize the fact that you know you're not saved, and you still don't want to get saved? That's playing with God. Not to mention with the lifestyle you living and the things you're doing, death can come to you at any moment. You're in, like I said, you living a lifestyle that asking for something bad to happen. So you're asking for death because of the things you're doing, the transactions you're making, the people you're hanging around. You're asking to die and go to hell, and you don't realize it because of your action. And see, that's what the Israelites were doing in this situation they're in. And that's why Samuel wanted them to, I said, don't forget that you get what you ask for. Because that's what they doing. They was asking for a worldly leader instead of having a godly leader, the godly leader that God had appointed to them. You know what I'm saying? They were asking for that. They was asking for that trouble. And Samuel wanted them to remind them that. He wanted them to think about what you're asking for. You know, all these years, because you got to think about it, if you look at their history and all the years and the struggles they've had, especially if you look through the book of Judges, all the things they went through, and all the things they've gone through with having a godly leaders, having the judges. Imagine what it's going to be like when you don't have that godly leader. You just got a king, a man. You know what I'm saying? So that was something trying to bring them. Don't forget. You know what I'm saying? Now, when things start going bad, and if you know your Bible, you know it do get bad. Now, it took a little while, but it gets bad. Matter of fact, we see Saul. We had Saul. By the time the fourth King's School, we had Saul, and it was decent under Saul. It was great under David. It was really good under Solomon in the beginning until the end of Solomon. It started to go bad. And then when Solomon's sons, Rehoboam, took over, it started to go bad because that's when Israel split. And you know, since Judah and Benjamin stayed faithful to the Lord, and the rest of the 10 tribes of Israel, they put this guy Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, in charge, and he started leading them into adultery. So it wasn't even 4 generations or 4 kings before it started going bad. And immediately they started having, you know what I'm saying, problems. They was being oppressed. They was constantly at war. They was constantly getting conquered by other people. Why? Because they asked to get away from God to go to the world. So just you got to realize if you've accepted the Lord as Savior, but you continue to live like the world, or if you're living like the world and refuse to accept the Lord as Savior, then you're asking for drama and chaos in your life. You're asking for the suffering. Whatever suffering that you're going through, you're actually asking for that. And you don't realize, I'm not saying you deserve it. Oh, you deserve it because you do it. No, but you got to realize, you got to take some accountability, which is one of our points going to come up. You're asking for that by the way you living. But now, in the same breath, though, when you live your life inside of the will of God, you know what I'm saying? When you do, you know what I'm saying? That's when you live your life outside of the will of God. You're asking for trouble. You're asking for the drama. You're asking for the chaos. But when you live your life inside of the will of God, then guess what? You're asking for that peace. You know, that peace that passes all understanding. You're asking for prosperity. You're asking for God's grace. You ask for God's mercy. Those are the things that comes when you live your life and do the action that come with being in the will of God. That's what you gotta understand. Like I said, whatever you ask for, you know what I'm saying? You gotta remember you get what you ask for. So if you live your life outside the will of God, you're gonna get bad things. That bad thing will happen to you. You're gonna attract those bad things. That's what you're asking for because of your actions. But if you live within the will of God, then you get the good things. You get the good things that God has stored up for you. You know, when he said that in one of my favorite verses, just really made me do like, I can't wait to see heaven. You know what I'm saying? It said the ear have not heard, I have not seen, nor entered, ear have not heard, eyes have not seen, nor entered into the hearts of man, the things that God has laid up for those that trust in him. Man, you got the ear have not seen, ear have not heard, eyes have not seen, nor entered into the heart of man. That means you haven't heard nothing as beautiful as what you're going to hear when you get to heaven. You haven't seen nothing as great and beautiful as what you're going to see when you get to heaven. And you can't even imagine. It's so great. You can't even imagine how great it's going to be. That's what they're saying. You see what I'm saying? Those are the kind of things you're asking for when you choose to walk in the will of God. You know, I think I've told you, I've used this story before because it's just so amazing to me. I remember the day that, again, I was so winning in Dixon. That's why I need to get back down to Dixon because a lot of my stories coming out of Dixon today. But I remember so winning out of Dixon. I just went over there. Matter of fact, Miss Alicia, it was the apartments that sit down the hill from where y'all are at. I was in those apartments, kind of sit a little bit down the hill from where y'all are at. And I remember we was out there knocking on doors, and I knocked on this door, and this young lady came to the door in tears. And, you know, now I got to talk to her, you know, what's going on. She's like, man, I'm really just going through it right now. I'm about to get kicked out of my apartment. Really don't know where I'm going to go. Don't have anywhere else to go. And she said, it's funny. I was just asking God to show up and show me that he was real because she was unsaved. So she said, I was just asking God to show up and show me that he was real and to show up and show me that he's with me through this. And she said, at the moment when I asked God to show me that, she said, exactly when I said that, not even a second later, you knocked on the door. See, she was asking. And that's why Jesus said, you ask, you shall receive. That's why I say, whatever you get, whatever you ask for, you receive. That young lady was asking for God to give her a sign that he was there with her in the midst of her troubles that she was going through. And I knocked on the door talking about, hey, do you know Jesus Christ? And then, like I said, it turned out she wasn't even saved. So guess what happened? I got to share the gospel with her, and she ended up getting saved. Now, I gave her my number. She never did call. I told her if she needed prayer, talk. You know, she never did call, which most people don't. And I pray that she's having, you know what I'm saying, everything is good for her. I don't know. I don't know what happened after that day. I haven't seen her since. You know what I'm saying? But I do know she was asking for something from the Lord, and the Lord gave it to her. So I say you got to be careful what you ask, because whatever you ask for, through whether it's through your words or your actions, it's going to come. It's going to come. You know what I'm saying? It's going to come to you. You know what I'm saying? If you look at David, David was always asking for mercy. You know what I'm saying? He was always asking for mercy, and he received mercy. You remember after he had that affair, and he had did bad. You know what I'm saying? He had brought some trouble into his life because he had did bad. He had that affair with Bathsheba, killed one of his highest ranking officers in his army to cover it up. You know, man, and he ended up getting confronted. You know, the prophet Nathan ended up confronting him about it. So, I mean, but what did he do? If you look at the Psalms, you read the Psalms, that was, when I read, and a good thing for y'all to do, I hope y'all read y'all Bible. You can print out, and some of them, there are always different variations of it, but a lot of them are pretty, you know what I'm saying, pretty much the same, couple of changes here and there. But when I read my Bible, I read in chronological order. It's just, you know what I'm saying, because if you read through your Bible, the whole Bible, you'll notice that it's not in chronological order. It'll be something over here, and then like 5 chapters later, the same thing will be over there. So it's not in chronological order. So what I started doing years ago, I read my Bible. I found this list, and I just Googled, you know, Bible in chronological order, and I found this list, and I've been reading by this list, and that's how I've been reading my Bible for probably the last 6-7 years, and it put in chronological order. So it shows, you know, the Psalms. So 1 minute it might be over in Kings or Samuel or something, looking at the life of David, and then it'll take you over the Psalms, some of the Psalms that David wrote, you know what I'm saying, because of a particular situation he was going in. So if you look at the Psalms that was written by him after he had this situation with Bathsheba and Nathan the prophet called him on it, he was all, oh, Lord, please give me the mercy, Lord. Please, you know what I'm saying, shine your mercy and help restore me to how I was at first before I made this bad mistake. You know what I'm saying? He was always asking for God's grace. He was always asking for God's mercy. He was always asking for God's peace. You know, he was always doing it, and he received it. You know, after he had a little, you know, went through a little valley for a while, but after he made it through the other side of that valley, man, he came out on the side, and the Lord blessed him in a mighty way, and used him in a mighty way. Still to this day, one of the greatest kings. Honestly, if you look at, when you read your Bible, and the Lord is comparing the other kings, David was like the standard. You know, he was the standard. Whenever a new king came in, a lot of time they were like, you know, if you read, especially if you're reading through like Chronicles and Kings, those books right there, and it's a new king or old king died, a new king came in, they always start off like, you know, this king was this old when he became king, and he served for this many years. And then they usually have a statement that he say that he, you know, did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, or to say that he did what was evil in the Lord's sight. And even when it said it was pleasing in the Lord's sight, it'll say something like it was pleasing in the Lord's sight, but not as David did. You know, and say well he did what was good, but not as David did. And then it was only honestly, I think it was only like once or twice where it said, maybe twice. I thought it was once, but maybe twice, where there was a king that came in and it said that he did just as he was he did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight as his father David. It's rare though, but David was the standard. Why? Because he always asked for mercy. He always asked for forgiveness. And you know what I'm saying? How did he become king? How did he become so popular? When he killed Goliath. If y'all remember the battle when he went to Goliath, Goliath was over there taunting the Israelites, talking bad to them, you know, disrespecting God. David saw it. He wasn't having none of it. You know what I'm saying? He said, when his brothers tried to ask him, like, what are you doing here? He's like, hey, is there not a cause? This guy's over there disrespecting my God. I'm not going to have it. And he went to the battle. And you remember on the way to the battle, Lord, please give me the victory today. You know, let the people know that you are the one true God. You are the God of Israel, and these are your chosen people. And when he went out, the giant Goliath came at him with an armor on and shield and spear and sword, and all David had was a few rocks in a bag, and all he needed, and a shepherd's staff, and all he needed was one. Took one rock out, swung it over there, hit him right between the eyes. He fell down and he went over there and took his own Goliath's sword and killed him with his own sword. Why? Because he asked for the victory. So again, yes, I know I spent the majority of the time talking about the bad stuff because I want you to be aware of what you're doing when you're living your life and the decision you're making. I want you to be aware of the kind of things that you can bring into your life by your action. I want you to be aware of what you're asking for when you're doing those things. But I also want you to be aware that you can, if you do the good things, you'll bring the good in. If you do the bad, you'll bring the bad. You know what I'm saying? Some I stopped doing When I really started serving the Lord, I stopped watching scary movies. I stopped watching scary movies and murder movies and stuff like that. I stopped watching those things, especially when it's like demonic possessions and all that kind of stuff. I stopped watching that stuff. Why? Because when you're watching this stuff, you're asking for those kind of elements to come into your life. You're asking to bring that drama and those evil spirits into your life. You don't realize you're letting that stuff in by participating in it, watching these movies and things like that. You got to understand. Now I try to replace it with good movies. Now, still not all my movies ain't good. I'm not going to sit here and tell y'all I'm an angel or saint. You know, I like watching Power. It's just really good writing in it. You know, it's just, I can't help it. If it's something that's really good, I can't help it, you know what I'm saying? But as far as watching like spooky stuff and like Halloween and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't watch those. I don't even allow my kids to watch scary movies. And, you know, luckily with the way we got our Roku and our streaming services, a lot of times you can see like if somebody watched something, it'd be like continue watching or would you like to watch this again? And I jump all over them. Like who watched this? If somebody watched that, my oldest son, he has a bad habit of watching scary stuff, and I've already told him, hey, don't watch that in this house. I don't want that in this house. Because I don't want to bring that into my house. You know what I'm saying? So you got to realize you're asking what your actions, and not only your words, but your actions bring certain things to you. You know what I'm saying? Certain things you do. Now, the Israelites, yeah, they used their words. They went to him and said, hey, we want the king. But even after Samuel gave them the warning, even after he said, hey, all right, I give you a king, but be warned, this is what's going to happen when you get this king. You know what I'm saying? They still like, yeah, but we still want a king. So they're not only their words, but their actions show that this is what they wanted. And like I said, that's going to be the beginning of the end for the Israelites. Because, like hundreds and hundreds of years down the road, it took like some hundreds of years, but eventually they end up, matter of fact, I'm reading in Jeremiah right now, and the book of Jeremiah, and about that time Jeremiah the prophet came around. That's when the Babylonians came in and burned the city of Jerusalem, burned it to the ground and took all the Israelites captive. You know what I'm saying? And a little before that, the Assyrians took over the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel, they took the nation of Israel captive. You know what I'm saying? And it started right here. All that started right here, this moment right here, when they asked Samuel to give them a king. So you got to be careful what you're asking for, because you realize whatever you're asking for, you're going to get it. You see what I'm saying? Another good one, because I know I gave so many bad. I want to give some good examples before I get out of there. Before I go to the next point. Look at Daniel. Daniel, one of my favorite stories. I'm actually going to do a sermon on Daniel next month, Lord willing. I'm still here. But you know what I'm saying? You remember when they was in a situation where the king was going to kill all the wise men. And like, if y'all can't tell me this dream, then I'm killing everybody. And what did him and his brothers do? They went and prayed all night, asked God to reveal this dream to them. And what happened? Because of their actions, because they were faithful men, because you remember Daniel started off, they was, matter of fact, talking about Babylon, they was captives. They were some of the captives that the king of Babylon took when he conquered Jerusalem. And when they got over there, the king was going to make them, eat the food that they eat, which, they ate food that was worship, that was a sacrifice to idols and things of that nature. And Daniel and his three brothers, they're like, man, we don't want to defile ourselves. We want to stay faithful to the Lord. So their actions, so when the guy said, hey, y'all need to eat the food, he said, man, look, give us this water and pulse, which is basically like salad. Let us eat that instead of this rich food that the king want to give us, this defiled food the king want to give us. And let us eat that for 10 days. He said, in the 10 days, if we look horrible, then we'll eat your food. But if we look good, you know what I'm saying, we look healthy, then let us continue to eat the food that we want to eat. And that's what they did. Why they do that? Because they want to stay faithful. They didn't want to defile themselves. Even though they was in this pagan land, they didn't want to defile themselves before the Lord. And that's why they ate that pulse. And what happened? They ended up becoming some of the most powerful men in the land. You know what I'm saying? And then when the situation came around, when they needed wisdom for this dream to save not only their lives, but the lives of all the wise men in their land at that time, what happened? They went and asked the Lord for it, and he gave it to them. Why? Because of their actions. Their actions showed that they was really faithful to the Lord. And then a little bit later on down the road, Daniel had to ask for favor again. You know what I'm saying? He asked for protection, and he received protection. Because remember, he was staying faithful to the Lord. He was praying to the Lord. Some guys got jealous of him because of his position of power, and they tricked the king into basically putting him in a situation where he got thrown into the lion's den. And of course, he went into the lion's den. You know what I'm saying? The king threw him in, and I'm pretty sure he sat there and prayed all night. And the king went back the next morning. Guess what? Didn't have a scratch on him. Didn't have a scratch on him. Why? Because he asked for God's protection. And the Lord, he said, my Lord, when the king went to them, they said, Daniel, did the Lord whom you serve constantly, did he protect you? He said, no, praise be to the king. He said, my God didn't find no fault in me. And he shut the mouths of the lions. So then the king pulled him out, and he threw the scoundrels in there that tricked him into throwing Daniel into the lion's den. And it said, if you read the Bible, it says before their bodies even touched the floor, the lions had already ripped them apart. So Daniel was in there the entire night, came out without a scratch on him, but these other guys got thrown in there, and their bodies didn't even touch the floor before they was ripped apart. Why? Because of Daniel's actions, his faithfulness to the Lord. He was asking for their peace. He was asking for their prosperity. He was asking for their protection. You know what I'm saying? There's another guy, Jabaz. You know what I'm saying? We think about money. There's this small, if you don't read your Bible, you probably don't even know who this guy is. But it's like this one little, it's weird, this one little tiny verse, but it brings up this guy named Jabaz over in the Old Testament. And he said that he just prayed this prayer. He asked the Lord to increase his territory. It was just a simple prayer. He said, Lord, wholeheartedly increase my territory so that I may serve you better, kind of thing. And he said that he increased his territory. Just one little blurb. He asked him and he received that. You know what I'm saying? So again, you got to be careful what you ask for. You got to be careful, and that's what. I told you there's a lot in here. I know it's going to take us a few weeks to get through it, but I want you to see how important it is. Like I said, whether it's your words or your actions, everything you do, every word you say, every move you make is just like that one song. Every step you take, every move you make, somebody's watching you. And there's the Lord watching you, of course, but you got to understand every action you take, every word you say, you're asking for certain things. You know what I'm saying? Because of the way you live your life, the things you do, the things you're saying, you're asking for certain things to be in your life. So if you find that you're constantly dealing with chaos in your life, you find that you're constantly dealing with drama in your life, you find that you just constantly just can't get ahead and you seem like you can't win before losing, then it's maybe because of the things you're doing. It's maybe because of your actions, and because of your actions bringing these things into your life that's keeping you from being able to get ahead and have a close relationship with the Lord. And that's what Samuel wanted them to understand. He said, I've done as you asked. Y'all asked me to give you this king. I'm pretty sure y'all don't realize what you're really asking for. And that's why he gave a warning back in the previous chapters. I'm pretty sure y'all don't realize what you're asking for, but just remember, this is what you asked for. So when I'm guessing when the king of Babylon came and finally expelled them from the land and took them out of the land, I hope they remembered, man, our ancestors asked for this. You know what I'm saying? They asked for that. Because they asked to get away from the Lord, and instead of living like the Lord wanted them to live, they want to live like the world wanted them to live. And they asked the Lord to do that for them. And that's what you got to understand. God, that's what free will is. He's going to give you whatever you want. You can live your life however you want to live your life. You can do whatever it is you would want to do, but you got to realize you're going to be the one that pays for the consequence of your action, because you're the one that asking for it by the way you live in your life. So again, if you live your life in the will of God, then you're asking for the peace, the prosperity, the grace and the mercy. But you live your life outside the will of God, then you're asking for the drama, you're asking for the chaos, you're asking for the problem, you're asking for whatever suffering that you're going through. You don't want to ask for it because of the way you lived your life. So number one, no, I kind of elaborated on it. I knew it was going to take forever because I got a whole page of stuff I was talking about on it, and I can go on and on about it, but I want to move to the next couple of points. But again, number one, don't forget, you get what you ask for. So be sure you're asking for the right things. You know what I'm saying? And the way you can be sure you're asking for the right thing, if you're walking in the will of God, then you're asking for the right, your actions and your words are going to ask for the right thing. And if you're walking outside of the will of God, then you're asking for the wrong thing. It's really that simple. So number one, don't forget, you get what you ask for. So be sure you're asking for the right thing. So then the next verse, he says this in verse number, the next verse, he said, verse number 2, he said, now I have selected him ahead of my own sons, and I stand here an old gray-haired man, and I have served as your leader since I was a boy. So number two is something else you don't forget. Don't forget, this is something you're gonna do, and this right here is crucial. This is I can't stress, and I know I've preached on it before in other sermons and brought up in other lessons, but man, this is crucial for you to be able to live a God-filled life, a good, godly, blessed life. Number two, do not forget to ask for the right influences to be in your life. Do not forget to do that. That's one of the things that I hope that you are praying for. That is something I'm always praying for. I think that's probably one of the main things that I pray for outside of like protection and being in the will of God. I would say the one main thing I pray for is being in the will of God, Secondly, just keep my family safe and protected. You know what I'm saying? And you know, taken care of. And 3, to make sure the right people are in our lives. Make sure that the right people, when I pray for myself, when I pray for my grandkids, when I pray for my kids, my family, you know what I'm saying? I pray all the time, Lord, please have the right people in my life. You know what I'm saying? It's so vital that you surround yourself with the right people. It's so vital that now, of course, we have to be in the world. You can't control everybody that's in your life. But there is to a certain extent, you can control who's in your life. You might not be able to control who you spend your leisure, your work time with. You can't control who's at the job. The company control that. You know what I'm saying? You can't control who's at the church. You know what I'm saying? That the Lord, controls that. But you can control who you spend your leisure time with. And who you spend your leisure time, you control who you listen to. You know what I'm saying? I only see a couple of people on here right now listen to me. But I guarantee y'all, if I was on here saying something ratchet, you know what I'm saying? If I was on here cursing up a storm and doing some kind of stupid thing, you know what I'm saying? Being negative, talking about somebody, gossiping about somebody. I guarantee you I have a whole show, I have a whole line full of people. But I'm on here talking about the Lord, and I appreciate y'all for being here because you're making the right decision. You're making the decision, man, hey, I believe this man is of God. I believe this man is giving me God's truth, so I'm going to listen to him. It's a Monday night. You know what I'm saying? You probably went to church yesterday, and you're still here today. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? You're making a good decision, and that's so important that you make the decision. You got to understand how important that decision is. Always, you want to make sure that the right people are in your life. And the reason why that's so important, if anybody knows me, a lot of people know what up, Peanut. I see my boy Peanut here. He knows me from North Memphis. He knows how I raised, you know what I'm saying, how I lived and what I went through. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why I am now, the reason why I'm a chemist for $1 billion corporation now, the reason why I'm a minister for the lost sheep, been serving the Lord for 19, 20 years, is because of the people that the Lord has put in my life over those years. That was it. It's crucial, man. It's crucial. I heard somebody say, I think my preacher said this sometime. He said, you want to know how you're going to be or where your life is going to be at in the next 5 years. Your life is a combination of the books you read, the information that you take in, and the people that you hang around. So that's why I say, even with the shows I was just talking about in the last point, how I don't watch like spiritual, like wicked movies. I don't watch stuff like I used to like Insidious and all that stuff. I don't watch that stuff no more. I don't give that stuff any kind of opportunity to have any kind of influence in my life. Because that's what you got to realize, when I'm out talking to people and we go soul winning and stuff, I always tell them, like, when I get to point number 3, when I'm talking about where it says, for God, Lord, I'm having drawn a blank here. Point number 3, where it says, God commended his love towards us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. You know what I'm saying? And I always use the example of, I like, look at I said, basically, when salvation is that moment when you let the Lord into your heart. You got to look at your heart as like a door. And that's for everybody. It's not only dealing with salvation, that's with everything. It's dealing with the influences that you have in your life as well. You got to look at it. You determined by the things that you watch, the music you listen to, the people you hang around. That's all things that you're letting into your heart. And everything has an influence on you. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how wise you are. I don't care how biblical you are. Everything that you let into your heart, everything that you let into through your ears, everything that comes through your eyes, it all going into your heart. And I tell people all the time, so the moment you get saved, that's you open up your heart and you're like, God, I know I got all this other filth in here, but I want to make sure you're in there too, because I know you can clean that filth out. You know what I'm saying? I always talk to them, and that's what you got to understand. I want you to be coming to my heart and start having more of an influence on me than all these other things. And that is important. If you're going to live a good, godly life, man, it's so important to make sure you have. That's one of the things I pray for with all my dealings. You know what I'm saying? I pray for, like I said, with my kids. That's one of the main, like I said, number 3 thing that I pray for, make sure the right people in my life. Because like I said, the reason I'm the person I am today, the reason why I'm able to be this lost sheep minister, the reason why I'm able to be this chemist, the reason why I'm able to be a family man and a father and all these little titles and these little worldly titles that I have, the reason why I'm able to accomplish all those things is because of the people the Lord put into my life. The Lord, and it's something I thank the Lord for all the time. And that's another thing when I'm praying as far as thanks. That's one of the things I thank. Every time I'm praying, I always thank the Lord for the people that he put in my life. Because like I said, I realized how important that was to me. You know what I'm saying? Every single time I was in a bad situation or I just needed some kind of guidance or needed a direction to go, the Lord always sent the right person at the right time to guide me in the direction I need to go. You know what I'm saying? I look back over, I just got some examples I wrote down, and I can't get everybody. So if I don't mention you, that you had influence in my life, I apologize. I can't get everybody. It's been too many. Like I said, God has sent a lot of people in my life, a lot of good people in my life that helped me get to where I'm at. But when I look at my life, the reason why I go to church and the reason why I love the Lord, it started with my grandmother. And I had my grandmother and I had an uncle. His name was Uncle Heim. And they was the one that made us go to church every Sunday. Every Sunday we was at Nazareth, Halliburton Baptist Church down in Mississippi. We lived in Memphis, and it was right one far from the county line. So it was about a 45-minute drive. And see, my uncle, he stayed in South Memphis. So he would leave South Memphis and drive 30, 40 minutes to come pick us up in North Memphis, and then drive another 30, 45 minutes, about 45 minutes to an hour to get us to church in Mississippi. He did that every single Sunday, my entire childhood. Every single Sunday, he drove from South Memphis to North Memphis, from North Memphis to down to Mississippi, and then back from Mississippi to North Memphis, back to his house every single Sunday. And because of that, it laid the foundation of the relationship that I have with the Lord now. And I was young. I didn't like going to church. I hated having to go to church. And that was my grandma's rule. If you stayed in the house, you went to church. And now I thank her for that. I thank her. Had she not laid that foundation of God's word down in my heart, I never would have been able to came back to it after I had to win the straight, because it wouldn't have been there. So I thank her. I thank God for that. And you know what I'm saying? And that made me the godly man. That's the reason why I'm preaching to y'all today, because they laid that foundation. And then, you know what I'm saying, I look at, a lot of people that know me know I'm always trying to be a father figure. When I come across kids and these young men that don't have positive black males in their lives, or they don't have father figures in their life, I'm always trying to be that guy. I'm always, y'all know, I've taken in the strays over the years. I've adopted both. Matter of fact, I legally adopted both of my younger brothers. My brother that's 5 years younger than me. Then I got another brother that's like 30 years younger than me. I legally adopted both of them. Why? Because they needed positive role models in their life. And God gave me the opportunity to be their positive role model. And the reason why I do that, reason why I'm always doing that, and we've had, since we've lived here 9 years, my kids, they joke with us sometimes. They joke with me. They made this like an inside joke. Since we've been living in Waverly, Tennessee, since we moved here almost 10 years ago, we've had somebody other than a person of our family, like blood related to our family, living in our house. So we've taken in my kids' friends. You know what I'm saying? We've taken in, and everybody come in. They got to go to church. They got to do Bible studies with us. You know what I'm saying? They have to go do the whole shebang. But why do I do that? Why do I have the desire to do that? It's because of the great men that was in my life. There was a guy by the name of Mr. Allen. He was my scoutmaster. Mr. Jackson, he was also one of my scoutmasters. It was two guys, Mr. Allen's, Mr. Jackson, my first scoutmaster, and then Mr. Allen, Bruce Allen, he was my, when I went to Weeblos, their stages, he was my scoutmaster. Then I went to Jake Allen as my boy scoutmaster. You know what I'm saying? Then I also had this guy about that time when I was in high school. It was a guy named Derek. You know what I'm saying? He was actually my supervisor for my first job. I was washing dishes. He was my supervisor. You know what I'm saying? These men are the men that really molded me and were father figures to me. And they didn't have to be. And that was the thing, they didn't have to be. They just saw a young man that needed some guidance. I was willing to listen. I think that would help. I was willing to listen. I worked hard, and I was willing to listen. I wasn't like one of them most of the hard-headed little kids that ran around Memphis in the projects at the time, where I was from or whatnot. I was willing to listen, and these guys saw that, and they was all father figures at different points in my life. I said it started with Mr. Jackson, then it went to Mr. Allen, then it went to Mr. Allen, and then toward the end, Mr. Derek. You know what I'm saying? All of them were father figures to me. And to this day, I'm a grown man. I'm 43 years old now. To this day, I still talk to Derek. You know what I'm saying? I met him when I was 16. Still talk to him. After I just talked to him the other day. He called me about my surgery. Hey, man, how you doing? He's supposed to be, he said he's going to try to make it up every Friday. We're having a little get together for my daughter going off to college. And hopefully, if y'all in the area, y'all invited. I don't know if y'all saw I'm bad about sending out invitations and stuff, but if y'all invited. But he said he's going to try to come up Friday. Mr. Allen, my scoutmaster, still this day. Matter of fact, I send both of them Father's Day cards every year. Because they really were fathers to me when I needed a father, when I needed a positive male influence in Memphis. Because I was surrounded by hustlers and pimps and gangs and gang members and drug dealers and rapists and murderers. I was surrounded by that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But these guys were not that. And they showed me I didn't have to be that. So now I try to return the favor. When I see these young guys out here and they just out here wild now, if you look at our youth, that's what's wrong right now. We don't have guys that's doing it anymore. Everybody then got selfish. You know what I'm saying? We don't have men, the OGs back in the day, even when they did their dirt, they still try to be positive and keep these guys away from this stuff. Now they're the ones encouraging them to do it. You see what I'm saying? But the reason why I'm always trying to be a father figure, why I'm always adopting somebody else's kids, is because somebody did it for me. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say that who influence your life is important, because it's going to influence who you are. A lot of people call me a good dude. Oh, man, you're such a good dude. I'm so proud of you. Man, I am a product of all the people that came before me. All these people that influenced me to do these things. You know what I'm saying? When I look at, y'all know I'm always talking about soul winning. When I look at soul winning, why am I so adamant about soul winning? Why am I always talking about soul winning? It's because I came across a guy named Jack Smith. You know what I'm saying? I was at a church in Middle Tennessee. Started going to that church. That was the first time I really heard about the whole soul winning thing. Tony Hudson, he's the pastor of that church. He used to preach on the soul winning. They used to go out to soul winning all the time. And then Brother Jack Smith, he's like, hey man, won't you come soul winning with me? You know what I'm saying? And he was a white guy. I mean, he was white as white can be. But man, he would go down to projects. And I just remember seeing like the power. He walked down there like with authority. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going with him and I'm sneaking, I'm looking around the corner, man. He walked like he didn't care. Like, he walked like he knew he had the armor of God with him. You know what I'm saying? And that man would just go and knock on doors and go up in people's house. And he didn't do it because, oh, I'm white guy, I can do that. He did it because, man, he really loved those people and he loved the Lord and he knew the power of God was on him. And I saw it, and I went out with him several times. I went out soul winning with him. And then when I moved up here, I ended up moving. I never did go never did get into like every week like I'm doing now. But I did go a couple of times with Brother Jack to go on like visits and stuff of that nature. And then I moved up here, and again, another preacher, John Johnson, my preacher now, talking about soul winning, teaching about soul winning. And I remember, I kept on making excuses like, well, because they go soul winning like early in the morning. Saturdays is my only day that I get to sleep in during the week. So I hate getting up early on Saturdays. If I had to get up early on Saturdays, like it ruins my whole week. You know, so I was like, man, Saturday's my sleep in day. And he said, well, I tell you what. He said, what time you normally get up? I said, about 12, 1. He said, I will tell you what. He said, how about I will go out soul winning with the church in the morning, and then I'll come and pick you up, and me and you can go soul winning in the evening. And I had no more excuse. So that's what happened. I started going soul winning with him. And I went with him for about 4 or 5 months. You know, so every Saturday he would go soul winning twice just to get me to go soul winning. And then what happened was, one day I down the project, I got bit. He said, John, he said, you're not going to really love it and get it until you get bit by the bug. He said, once you get bit by the bug, you ain't going to be able to stop doing it. And I remember, I never forget, I got bit by the bug. I was down in the projects in Nashville. And I got bit by the bug, and now it's rare. I do miss a Saturday here and now again because some stuff, we end up having some kind of activities and I have to be out of town or something like that. But even when I'm out of town, when I'm traveling to work, I try to go soul winning. You know, me and my wife got a trip coming up in a couple of weeks, and I'm being in Florida for a few days, and it's going to be on a Saturday. And I'm trying to go soul winning down in Florida on that Saturday. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? But I got influenced by these men. I saw how passionate they were about it. I saw the power they had because they went soul winning. I saw how God was working in their life, and I want those things too. So my point is, the reason why I'm saying that, you got to realize how important it is to choose the right people in your life. Because everybody that you allow in your life, everybody thing that you allow in your heart is gonna, you know what I'm saying, is gonna influence you. You know what I'm saying? When I look at another thing, I'm always talking about the Bible. I'm talking about reading the Bible. I'm always talking about reading the Bible. I read my Bible. I told you I read my Bible every day. I don't think I missed a day of reading my Bible. It's probably 3 years. It's probably been 4 or 5 years. I think I missed one day in the last 4 or 5 years where I didn't read my Bible. And the only reason why I missed that day because I opened up my Bible and then my son came in and started talking to me. And I'm like, well, I just read it later on. And because I opened my Bible, I thought I had already did it. And I didn't realize till the next day, like, dang it, I never did get back to my Bible. But probably in the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't missed a day of reading Bible. Why? Because there's this lady she was one of my best friends when I was a child. I had a friend named Antoine Knapp. And his mama used to give me rides to school every morning when she saw me walking by myself. So she would stop and pick me up. And just later on in life, I just went by, you know what I'm saying, check on her. I went to visit her son and check on her because I hadn't talked to her for years. And we got to talking, and I didn't know how spiritual she was. And, man, we got to talking. And for the last, like I said, 5, 6, 7 years, every time, probably longer than that. It's been longer than that. But, I mean, I call her my spiritual mother. You know what I'm saying? And the one thing she always kind of got on me about, or kind of, I don't want to say pushed toward me, but the one thing she always kind of admonished me about was the importance of reading your Bible every day. And I mean, a couple of times that we had conversation about it and how important it was. And at first I wasn't listening. And then I started reading my Bible, but I didn't read it every day. And then, like I said, about 4 or 5 years ago, I started like, all right, I'm going to make sure I read no matter how busy my day is, no matter what's going on, I'm going to read my Bible every day. And I did, and it has really changed my life. It's changed my ministry, and it's changed the way I see God. And it's changed my walk with God, because I get to walk with him every day. She did that. You know what I'm saying? Because I saw her walk. I saw how serious she was about her walk. So you see, these things are important. You know what I'm saying? Of course, those are spiritual things. The reason why I pray all the time. Now, I don't know that I don't got nobody that I know personally that makes me that I model my prayer after. But if you read the Bible, James and Daniel, those are two guys that were serious about prayers. James said, "The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." You know what I'm saying? He was really serious about prayer. And then again, we saw with Daniel was able to pray and get the dream interpreted, the interpretation of the dream for Nebuchadnezzar. And then we saw again later on when he's able to pray and he was able to make it out of the lion's den. So when I look at these guys, and I look at how they prayed and how much God answered their prayers and how much of a blessing it was for them to pray, you know, I started praying. I made sure I'm serious about my prayer. I pray every day. You know, so I got a cousin named Goody. Very spiritual dude, very wise as far as the Bible. And he's really, a lot of times when I have biblical questions that I don't understand, I talk to him. And he's the one that influenced me to really get into my Bible, to really study the Bible and make sure, especially when I'm teaching other people, to make sure I really understand the concepts myself. He's the one that pushes me toward that because he challenged me. I talk to him and I think I know some. And he'll hit me with like a side blow that I wouldn't expect. Like, oh man, I never thought about it like that. So he really challenges me. So again, the people in your life, man, they're going to challenge you. They're going to influence you. So make sure you have the right people. You know what I'm saying? When you look at my work ethic, the reason why I work so hard, the reason why I grind so hard, the reason why I'm such a hustler is because of my wife and kids. You know what I'm saying? My wife and kids, they the one that motivates me to get up every day and go to work. I don't be want to go to work every day. You know, people know me. There was one point before I got this job I'm at now, I was literally working 100 hours a week, not every other week, a week, because I was working 2 full-time jobs to support my family. Why? Because they motivated me to do so. Because they had my back. They everything I wanted to do, anything we need to happen, they was there for me. So they motivated me to do that. You know what I'm saying? And even the bad people that's in your life. You know what I'm saying? I got molested by my cousin. Y'all know my story. I got molested by 2 of my cousins, 2 of my male cousins in my family when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? And because of that, that's why I work so hard to be a present father in my kids' life. That's why I work so hard. That's why I was working those 100 hours a week, because I wanted to make sure my wife didn't have to work, so she never had to worry about leaving my kids with anybody, and I didn't have to worry about that happening to them. So yeah, that was a horrible thing, but it still had an influence on who I am today. It's the reason why and I tell people all the time, like, yes, that rape that I was going through, it was traumatic. You know, so I wish it didn't happen, but I also can't deny how important it was to my life and the bigness, the impact it had on my life and how it made me who I am today. Honestly, if it would took it out, I might not be this guy. I might not be this Lost Sheep ministry that I am today. I might not be the father that I am. I might have, because before I really got serious about God, I was out here in these streets just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Messing around, I had my baby mama, but I had 2, 3 other chicks on the side. You see what I'm saying? But had it not been for that guy, I had always said, because of what happened to me, because my mama just left me with anybody that was watching me, and I ended up getting raped because of it, I always said, if I ever had kids, I would make sure I would work hard to make sure that my wife would never, or my girl would never have to work. So that way I never have to worry about that happening to my kids, because I went through that molestation. So again, that was bad, that was negative, but it still had an influence on my life. And that's what I want y'all to see. Everything that you go through, everything that you take into yourself, you take in, or like I said, movies, books, whatever, they all has an influence on your life. So don't forget the ask the Lord. That's why I ask the Lord every day. Make sure the right people in my life. When I look at my grandkids, like I said, I always pray for my son. He's a knucklehead. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's getting better at it. But he's not doing what he's supposed to do. So the mom is a single mom. They got a good relationship back and forth, whatever. But the mom is a single mom, and she does all she can. And that's why I get my grandkids like every other weekend to give her a break so she don't lose it. Because I know how it is being a single parent. You know what I'm saying? But I'm always praying, Lord, please give her the wisdom to make sure the right people are around those kids and the wrong people are not. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to get our plus I love my grandkids, but I'm glad we're close enough that we can get them every other weekend so we can give her a break so she ain't worrying about just giving them to anybody and something bad happen. That influenced me. So again, everything that you bring into your life, everybody that you bring into your life, every word that you listen to, every show that you watch, every music, video or song that you listen to, it all has an influence in your life. So be asking God for the right influence because it's important. You know what I'm saying? Because you understand, look at what our country is going through right now. Look at our country's a mess. You got to be blind not to see that our country's a mess and is on the decline. You know what I'm saying? It won't be too long before something really bad happens and the stuff hit the fan, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Why is it such a mess? Because our leadership is going in the wrong direction. And if the leadership is going in the wrong direction, guess what's going to happen? The people is going to follow. Now, when the leadership is going in the wrong direction, people are going to follow. You know, the guys are always telling me, you know what I'm saying? I remember, and y'all know if y'all listen to my testimony, I remember the guy, one part of the conversation I had the guy, because he was telling me, you know, I was telling, oh man, these kids are following me. I was dumb enough to think these kids are following me because I was selling drugs and they wanted to be like me and that's why they were following me. And I never forget the guy told me, he said, man, look, he said, those kids are following you because you're a leader. And I'll never forget, he said, whether you selling drugs or preaching, he just so happened to say preaching, but he literally said, whether you selling drugs or preaching, he said, I guarantee you those kids will still follow you because you're a leader. He said, there's a light in you that you don't even realize, and that's what they're following, that light. You see what I'm saying? So when you get in a leadership position, you got to be careful because you influence the people that come behind you. But at the same time, you got to be careful with who you choose to be your leaders as well. Do you got these NBA players out here being those the ones that you're trying to model your life out and you know what I'm saying, and be like them? If you are, you in a sad situation. No, these rock stars or these R&B stars or these rappers, if those are the people that you're modeling your life out, if those are the ones being influencing your life, then you're in a bad situation. And I advise you to really take a look at your life and make a change. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not a good thing you want to be. But you know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that the leadership, the people that you put in your life is the right ones. And we're going to see here, like I said, this is the beginning of the fall of Israel, really. Now, it's like I said, it's going to take some hundreds of years. And I never counted it up. It might have been almost 1,000 years. I mean, they're going to go a while with kings. They're going to have kings for a while. But eventually, they're going to get to the point where I'm at right now in Jeremiah, where Jerusalem is going to be destroyed. And the temple of the Lord is going to be burnt, and the whole city, the whole nation of Israel is going to be dispersed all over the world because they got away from God, because they were following the wrong leadership. You know what I'm saying? And again, you look at our country, why is the pride movement so strong right now? Why is it so strong? Why do they have a whole freaking month dedicated to the rebelliousness against God? They got a whole month where they separate a different day. Each day separates a different aspect of gay pride or whatever. Why is that? You know why is that? Why it's so strong? Why it's such a strong movement? Because our leadership supports it. You see what I'm saying? Our leadership supports that, and that's why it's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Why is drugs so bad? Because our leadership supports it. You know what I'm saying? They rather you, instead of smoking weed, something that's natural, that God put here for medicine that can help you with that chronic pain, they'd rather you go take these pills that you're going to get hooked on because they're going to get some money from it. See, our leadership supports it. When you look at drugs, when you look at, you know what I'm saying, why we got to change our pronouns? Why we got to change? They used to mean it's one or it's two or more people involved in something when you said they. Now it can be one person. Why are we changing that? Because our leadership's supporting it. You know, I can't remember where it's at. It might be in California because that's usually where all the wacky stuff started at. But it was a state. I saw it in, I think it was California and New York, or maybe just New York, but it was one state. And I remember seeing the article, but I didn't just get deep into it. But basically legalizing that if you misgender somebody, if you see a dude and you call him a dude, you know what I'm saying? Even though you see a dude, you see he's clearly a dude, and you call him a dude, but he identifies as a woman, you can actually go to jail for that. You can actually be fined. Matter of fact, it's a felony. That is insane. That is insane. You can go to jail and have a felony on your record for misgendering somebody, calling them the thing that God actually made them to be. That is insane. But why is that? Why is that legal? When you rational, you look like that. This is insane. How is this even a thing? Why is it a thing? Because our leadership supports it. You see what I'm saying? That's why who you have as leader, that's why you who have leading your life is important. Because if your leadership is wrong, then you're going to be wrong too. If the leadership is going down the wrong path, you can go down the wrong path. You know what I'm saying? If you look at all the time that the prophets were pronouncing judgment, You know what I'm saying? Whenever they were pronouncing judgment, like I said, I'm up in Jeremiah right now. So you look at Isaiah and Jeremiah and Micaiah and all these prophets that came and was telling Israel, like, hey, if you don't change, this bad stuff going to happen. Every single time they were pronouncing these judgments and God was telling these people what they were going to go through, every single time you look, the blame was they always got on the religious leaders. Even when Jesus came back. Even when Jesus came back, you remember he called every time Jesus got into an argument, he never got into an argument with the criminals or the sinners, so to speak. Every time Jesus got into an argument with somebody in the Bible, it was always with the religious leaders. You know what I'm saying? It was always with the Pharisees or the Sadducees. They was the one that was best. That's why he always got in, because they didn't know. What he said, one quote, I might be misquoting it. He said, you're not going to make it to heaven, and you're keeping other people from doing it as well, because you lead them in the wrong direction. That's basically what he's saying. He was always getting on the leaders. So that's why you got to be careful. And that's what Samuel bringing them to remembrance. You know what I'm saying? Remember, this is what you asked for. You know what I'm saying? This is what you asked for. Don't forget, this is what you asked for. He said, now I've chosen this leader. You know what I'm saying? I've been your leader since I was a boy. You know, the God used me to rescue y'all from the oppression y'all were going through. But now you're asking for another leader. You're asking for this worldly leader. So don't forget. You asked for this. You know what I'm saying? So again, you look at the time the prophets were pronouncing judgment. It was always against the leaders. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, if you read over, like I said, we get into Chronicles and Kings, First Kings, Second Kings, Chronicles, and like I said, after Jeroboam, Israel split. After Rehoboam, Israel split, and the 10 tribes, they was under King Jeroboam, and the other 2, they stayed under Rehoboam. You know what I'm saying? And after that, Jeroboam started them into idolatry. And if you look after that, every single time they got a new king, it always says they still did. Matter of fact, even once you get out of Chronicles and Kings and all that, every single time when it talks about, it was brought up how Israel turned away and started worshiping idols, it was every single time it said the idol worship that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, led them into. That's what this dude is known for. And, I mean, it's probably, I ain't counted it, but there's at least 40 or 50 times where it talks about them worshiping idols and it blamed it on Jeroboam, son of Nebat. Why? Because he was the leader at that time. He was the leader, and because he went astray, he wanted to keep it to himself instead of having them go and worship the Lord in Jerusalem. He was afraid that if they did that, they was going to go back and they were going to go back to the Lord and leave him. So he's like, no, don't worry about going to Jerusalem, worship the Lord. We're going to make us some gold calves. We're going to worship them. Those are the ones that brought you up out of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Because greed. You know what I'm saying? So because he led them astray, because he was the leader, he led them astray and they followed. And that's why you got to work. You got to be careful who you let influence your life, especially if they're leaders in your life, because if they're leading your life and they're going the wrong way, they're going to lead you in the wrong direction as well. So again, you know what I'm saying? That's why I pray every single day. You know what I'm saying? When I pray, I pray for, you know, and I know, like, I don't like this. I'm not a Trump supporter. I wouldn't call myself, I'm not going to have a mega hat or nothing like that. Don't get me wrong. But I do not like this current president at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just, and it's not even, maybe if he was younger, fine. If you got to be blind if you don't see that this guy is suffering from dementia. He can't even put a statement together. And I mean, it just shows you, like, honestly, I'm not in politics at all anyway. I have no faith in politics. The only reason why I vote is because of my forefathers, or what you want to call them. They gave up their life for us to have the ability to do so. And I don't want to disrespect them by not doing so. But this president shows you, it shows you that he's just a puppet. This guy, I mean, he's falling down the steps, falling up steps, falling off bikes. They showed this one thing that he was going somewhere and he actually had he was like with some kind of ambassador or something, and he had to like cuff his arm under the ambassador's hand to walk with this ambassador to keep, you know what I'm saying, keep from falling. This dude was like, God, that's insane. You know what I'm saying? That is insane. I don't like this leadership. Look at the laws they coming out with. You know what I'm saying? Like, states that try to make it to where transgender men can't compete with transgender women can't compete with regular women. And him and his administration is fighting it. That is insane. Why? Because our leadership is supporting those things. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say, man, look at this country. This country is declining rapidly. Why? Because we have bad leadership. The people that we look up to are bad influencers. Instead of looking to men of God, Instead of listening to people, the men that stay at home and take care of their families, we listen to these rappers that teach you to treat your woman bad and to make sure you got 3 or 4 in the chamber, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? We listen to those kind of guys. Those are the ones that have influence in our lives. But the men of God, we don't listen to them. Like I said, if I was on here talking ratchet stuff and rapping and cutting up and acting a fool, I would have a whole show full of people. And I can do that. I'm still John. I can still cut up and act a fool if I want to. You know what I'm saying? But if I was on here cutting up, acting a fool, I have a whole show full of people. I'll probably have a million followers. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I got the personality to do so. But because I'm on here speaking this truth, I get 2 or 3 every now and again. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate the ones that's in here. You know what I'm saying? But I get 2 and 3 every now and again. Why? Because we are letting the wrong people influence our lives. So if you want to have a close walk with God, if you really want to get what God wants you to be, the very crucial, very vital step, very vital thing that you should be doing, you should be praying every day for God to send the right people in your life. Because like I said, I'm a product. I thank God every day for everybody that he brought in my life. I do it every single day because it had such an influence on me. So again, you want to have a good life, you want to have the right kind of life, you want your life to go in the right direction, make sure you pray. And the same, not only for yourself, like do it for your kids, man. That's one thing. My daughter, breaking my heart. We having a get together Friday, this Friday here in New Johnsonville, if you're in the area. I'd love to have you come through, have a get together. It's going off to college party. She's going to be going off to college here in about 3 weeks, man. It's breaking my heart. Oh my goodness. But the one thing, I know I can't stop her. I can't stop her from growing. But the one thing I do pray, Lord, please let her be around the right people. Please, you know what I'm saying? I know the kind of the people I came across in college. You know what I'm saying? There was some good, there was some bad. You know what I'm saying? I hung with some bad, I hung with some good. You know what I'm saying? I know the stuff I got into in college. And a lot of the bad that I got into is because I was hanging with the wrong people, hanging out with the Qs and pleasuring and stuff like that. They got me into drinking and all kinds of stuff that I wasn't even doing until I got to college. It's crazy. I'm from the hood, and I had on to smoke weed a couple of times or didn't have anything to do with drugs, even though it was all around me. I didn't do drugs or had anything to do with drugs till I got to college. Why? Because of the fluid, the people that was around me. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I pray. Like I said, man, that's one of the main things y'all should be praying for. Pray for the Lord to put the right people in your lives and the lives of your loved ones. Pray for that because it's very important. So number two, I'm on point number 2, y'all. I should be able to get one more in. But like I said, this was a good lesson. I was excited about this because it's a different lesson. And I'm on point number 2. But number 2, don't forget to ask for the right influences in your life. You know what I'm saying? This is a crucial part of your life, your daily living. If you really want to live a God-filled life, make sure you're asking for the right influence. Because like I said, if you get the wrong influence in your life, you're going to go in the wrong direction. That's bottom line. If you get the wrong influence in your life, you're going to go in the wrong direction. I'm going to do one more point. I'm going to try to make it quick and I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to try to at least stay under my 2 hours. So number 1, in case you just tuned in, number 1 was don't forget you get what you ask for. So make sure you're asking for the right things. Number 2 is don't forget to ask for the right influences in your life. It's crucial for you to live a God-filled life for you to be able to do that. And number 3 is something else you don't forget. This one is about humble, staying humble. Don't forget. Number 3, don't forget the ground is even in Calvary. What am I saying? Don't forget the ground. What am I saying? You're not special. Just because, like me, yes, I'm the minister of the lost sheep. I preach just about every single day. I go out and knock on doors in the projects every single Saturday. I'm always out there talking about the Lord. I'm always giving out gospel tract. But I am not special. The ground is even in Calvary. I got to get to heaven the same way that you get to heaven. And you got to make sure you remember that. So watch what he said. He said, I stand here, an old gray-haired man. I have served as your leader since I was a boy. He said, now tell me, as I stand before the Lord and before his anointed one, whose ox or donkey have I stolen? Have I ever cheated any of you? Have I ever oppressed you? Have I ever taken a bribe? Tell me, and I will make right whatever I have done wrong. So that's actually going to be 3 points, 2 points, number 3 and number 4. But I'm obviously not going to get into number 4 tonight. So I'm going to do the first part of that is number 3. He said, have I ever cheated any of you? Have I ever oppressed you? Have I ever taken a bribe? Tell me, and I will make right what's wrong. In other words, I never look down upon you. You know, so I never look down upon you. I never use your position. Never use your position to look down upon another person. Again, like, man, I'm a father. I'm a black dude. Like, y'all should see it. And they mean well. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't need you pro black people. They mean well, but the country. We stay in the country. Not a lot of black people up here where I stay at all. On a few black families where I stay at. So most of these people reference of what goes on in black households and things like that nature is from movies and stuff. And the common stereotype is that you don't have black men in the family kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So like for the long, and then I'm either at work or I'm preaching. I don't really go out much because I don't socialize a lot. I really have no life, to be honest. I did all my partying back when I was in school doing those bad things. You know what I'm saying? So I don't get out much. So like when the kids' friends, they see me or whatever, like there was one time they was convinced that the kids they didn't have a dad at home, and like that my kids would come and like I said, we laugh about it. It's funny, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got your dad's at the house, you know, kind of thing. Like it was hilarious. To me, you know what I'm saying? But it's just that, so me to be able to be a black father, you know what I'm saying? Me and my wife been married almost 20 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm a chemist. I'm a minister. I got all these, like I said, these little worldly titles. I could easily my chest be puffed up like, oh yeah, I'm this, that. I don't, man. I don't, because I know everything I have, I only have by the grace of God. And honestly, there was a point in my life I was living a certain way, and I was going a direction. Really, God could have really taken all this away from me. You know, so I just thank God that He was patient with me, and He was patient enough with me and gave me enough chance to help me realize I was going in the wrong direction. And because of that, I stay humble. I don't use my position as a chemist. You know what I'm saying? Like when I walk around a plant, I'm just like the rest of the guys. And there is people, because I work with a lot of chemists, I work with engineers, you know, so I work with people who make a lot of money, man. I've shook hands with millionaires, you know what I'm saying, within our company. Like I work with people that make a lot of money. And, you know, and some of them, they got their arrogance about them. You know, the white collar worker, they come in and they just kind of, you know, just look down their nose at people. I've never been one to do that. I've never been one to use my position or my success to look down upon somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, though I'm a chemist and a minister, and you know what I'm saying, I could easily get that arrogant and have my nose in the air. No, I'm no longer from North Memphis. No, I could, but I don't. And the one thing that blesses my soul when somebody says this all the time, I get this a lot, especially when I come across somebody that I haven't seen in a long time. And I get to talk to them, and the one thing they say that really blesses my heart, like, man, you still John. You know, so I love it, man. You still John. Like, yes, because y'all got, if you know me, y'all know, no, I'm the same dude. Like I said, yes, I'm a bit wiser. I like to think a little bit smarter. I'm not as wild, but I'm still me. At the core person of who I am, I'm still that person. You know what I'm saying? And why? Because I realized that, man, yes, I have accomplished a lot, but the only reason why I'm able to accomplish these things is because of the Lord. And that's why I say you got to understand, don't forget the ground is even in Calvary. What am I saying there? We're all going to stand before God someday. We're all going to stand before God. We're all going to stand. Everybody's going to have to be judged. The good, the saved, and the unsaved. That was a lot of people, because these unsaved people think, I got my ticket, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? You still going to be judged. The difference is, the only thing is, when the unsaved people are being judged, they're being judged on all the bad they've done, and their punishment has been determined by, you know what I'm saying, how bad they have, the bad they've done. But when we get judged, we're going to be judged by the good we done, or if we even did any good. And our rewards are going to be based off of that. But we're all going to have to stand before God someday. We all get to heaven the same way. I'm getting to heaven, even though I'm a preacher. And like I said, I preach every day. Y'all see I'm over here running my mouth. I'm on my third point. It's almost been 2 hours already. And not even mention the time, the 2 hours I put into getting this lesson together. But guess what? I'm getting to heaven the same way that you get to heaven. And that's by faith through Jesus Christ. I don't have no kind of special, even with the Israelites. They got to get through heaven the same way. That's why it's so sad that a lot of them don't even accept Jesus the Messiah. That's another thing that I pray for when I pray. Lord, get them the wisdom to see you are the Messiah they've been waiting for, and get them the willingness to accept you as such. Get them the willingness to do that so they can be able to receive the inheritance that was promised, and the world may be blessed through them. You see what I'm saying? We're all going the same way. The Israelites got to go the same way that we're going. You know what I'm saying? The preachers got to go get into heaven the same way the sinners are getting to heaven. We're all, the ground is even as Calvary. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure you stay humble and remember that. You don't want to be like that Pharisee. Y'all remember this one story? Jesus he was talking about, he said there was these two guys that went to the temple. You know what I'm saying? One of them was a tax collector. And you know, the tax collector was like a bad thing back in the day. Like, I mean, y'all think we hate the IRS now? They really hated the tax collector back in the day, because the tax collector was basically what they would do. What they would do is, like, let's say the Roman governor say, hey, you know, you're required to bring in $100,000. You know what I'm saying? $100,000 a month. And I'm just using arbitrary numbers. You know what I'm saying? So in order to get that 100, he said, you bring in $100,000, whatever you get over that, that's yours. Like, just bring me my portion. So the tax collectors can go out, and really all they have to do is charge everybody $50. They get their $100,000, but they can charge 100, 200. They can charge whatever they want to. And if whatever tax or whatever amount they set, that's what you had to pay. And they had the authority of the Roman government that if you didn't pay that, they can come and throw you in prison. They can make you slave. They can take all your stuff. And there was a lot of crooked dudes that was tax collectors working for the Romans basically to oppress their own people. So they really hated tax collectors back then. You know what I'm saying? We hate them now, but they really hated them back then. So there was this situation where Jesus, he, you know, telling parable, he said there was one guy in there, he was a tax collector, and there was this one guy who was a Pharisee, which, like I told y'all, they was like the higher ups in the church, so to speak. He said there was a tax collector and there was a Pharisee. He said now the tax collector, he knew he was a sinner. So, like he said, when he was down on his knees, like he was so humbled, he was under so much conviction. He said he couldn't even look up to the sky to God. He said he just kept his head down, he smote his breast, and he said, "Forgive a sinner like me." And he said the Pharisee came in, he like, "Oh Lord, I thank God I'm not like that sinner, that tax collector over there." You know what I'm saying? He said the tax collector was on his knees, humble. No, Lord, forgive me, I'm a sinner, smote his breast. And the Pharisee like, "Oh, thank God that I'm not like this sinner over there." And Jesus said, which one of those did you think left actually that was actually justified when they left the temple? And guess who it was? It was the tax collector, the one that was humble. You know what I'm saying? The Pharisee was looking down his nose at him. See, you don't want to be like that Pharisee. You don't want to be that guy judging everybody else because of the way, you know what I'm saying, you didn't got your stuff together and now you got to go back. And I tell you, man, I didn't got my stuff together. Now I'm supposed to go back and look down on the people that's selling drugs and look down on the people that out here ho-hopping and doing all the things they doing when I was doing the same things back in the day. No, that's not how it works. I stay humble. I remember where they are now, I was there. And that's why I try to go and I try to bring them where I'm at. And I don't look down on them because of where they at. I don't, like I said, now it's frustrating. I ain't gonna lie. It's frustrating I'll get out because you're trying to help them. You try to guide them. You try to get them to see like, man, look, if you just stop doing that thing and you start doing this thing, you'll be straight. And they just love doing that thing though. They don't want to change. You know what I'm saying? But I always tell dudes like, man, look, now, especially when I was preaching in jails, that's one of the things I always talk to the guys, and even with my Lost Sheep ministry, you know what I'm saying? I call us a bunch of misfits, especially my guys that I meet with in person. You know what I'm saying? I always try to tell them, like, man, look, you know, I appreciate the accolade. I appreciate y'all saying you're proud of me and all that, but you got to understand, I'm not doing nothing that you can't be doing if you make the same decision that I made. You know what I'm saying? You can be doing the same, especially with the guys in jail. I always tell, oh, man, we thank you so much for coming in. And I always say, bro, you can be doing the same thing. I said, you can be doing the same thing. And I always tell, I said, man, the only reason why you don't have the power to do what I'm doing now, or you don't have the ability to do what I'm doing now, because you haven't made the decision that I've made just yet. And I made almost 20 years ago, I made a decision to give my whole life to the Lord, my whole heart to the Lord. I said, the moment you make the decision, you can have the same power, you can have the same wisdom, you can be doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I said, man, I said, you got to understand something. I said, I'm one bad decision from being exactly where you are. If I made that decision to turn my back against God and start living like the world and you know what I'm saying, getting out there looting and plundering and doing all that kind of stuff, I end up in the same position. Probably worse because I left God to go there. I said, but at the same time, you're one good decision from being where I'm at. All you got to do is make that decision to give your whole heart to God. You know what I'm saying? And you can be where I'm at. Because like I said, everything I've accomplished, everything I've done, all this wisdom I've had, these lessons I share with y'all, all this stuff, it comes from the grace of God. I only have it by the grace of God. It's not because I'm so smart. It's not because even though I am. It's not because I'm a hard worker, even though I am. Not because I'm so handsome, even though I am. It's not because of those things. Those things have not got me to where I am right now. The things that got me to where I am right now is strictly the grace of God. And you have to remember that. You know what I'm saying? So when you see people out there, and I've seen it before, the abortion clinics. Yes, I believe abortion is completely wrong. It's murder. You can call it abortion. You can dress it up cute and whatever. It's murder. You're murdering a child. So I believe that's wrong, just like they believe it's wrong. But when you out there in front of the abortion clinic with picket signs and pictures of dead babies, cut up babies, and these women is going there making this terrible decision, and they already feeling bad and feeling guilt because of the decision they making, and you call them whores and tell them they're going to hell and condemning them. That's not of God. I'm gonna let you know right now, that's not of God. When you see people doing that, that's not of God at all. That's not of Jesus. Because you look at any time Jesus interacted with somebody, there was a known sinner in the Bible, it was always compassion. Y'all remember the woman at the well? He didn't call her a whore. He said, man, he was talking to her and he tried to put up on game and she wasn't getting it. So she wasn't getting it. So he said, you know what? Go get your husband. Go get your husband. And she said, well, I don't have a husband. He said, that's right. He said, that's right. You don't have a husband. He said, you've had 5 husbands and you shacked up with boyfriend number 6. You know what I'm saying? He didn't call her a whore. He said, you whore. I know you got no husband, you whore. You scattered. No. He just said, yeah, I know you don't have a husband because you had 5 and you shacked up with number 6. You know what I'm saying? And then he got to tell her about the living water. Guess what happened? She got saved, and actually she became the greatest soul winner in the Bible. Because not only did she get saved, she ran into the town and told the other guys about this dude that she just met against the well, at the well. They came out, and the entire town got saved. And the good thing about that too, the thing about that a lot of people don't understand is she was a Samaritan. And if you know anything about the Israelites, like I was telling y'all earlier, the kingdom split. You had the 2 tribes that was Judah and Benjamin. They stayed faithful to the Lord. And then the other 10 tribes separated. They became the northern tribe of Israel. So they became the Samaritans. Like whenever you hear the Samaritans, they're all Israelites, but they're like the cousins. Matter of fact, we talk about looking down. You know how you got the cousin in the family, you got the ones that snooty. You know what I'm saying? That look down like, oh, no, you got the ghetto cousin, you got the snooty, nose in the air cousins. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the tribe Benjamin, and whenever you think of the Israelites, they're the snooty cousins, and they look down at the Samaritans. So they didn't like the Samaritans. The Samaritans were like their cousins and uncles and all that, but they was beneath them because they had turned their back on God and started worshiping idols. So they didn't like each other. They hated each other, really. So for this Jew who knows in Judah, Jesus from like up there in the main tribe, and to be talking to her. And he told her all she ever done, and then told her how to get that living water. She was amazed, and she went back and told everybody else about it, and the whole town got saved. See, that's compassion. He didn't get, you whore, you've had 5 husbands, and that was bad back in the day. You weren't even supposed to get divorced. So for her to be back in the day having 5 husbands, that was bad. But you never once saw Jesus get on her. He got frustrated because she wasn't getting the game he was trying to lay down, but he never got on her. Same another situation with another woman. Y'all remember Jesus was at the temple. He was over there at the temple, and they brought a woman. Oh, Lord, we caught this woman in very act of adultery. Caught her in the very act. And according to the law of Moses, she's guilty, and she need to be stoned to death. What say you? And Jesus said he didn't even look at them. He just stooped down and started writing in the dirt. And saying, what do you say, Jesus? He said, all right. He said, according to the law of Moses, she is guilty. She should be stoned to death. He said, so go ahead and do it. He said, but let he without sin cast the first stone. He without sin cast the first stone. And he never did look up to him. And then he said he just kept on writing. And he said eventually he looked up, and the only person that was left standing there with him was that woman that was caught in the sin. And he looked up and said, what happened to all your accusers? Where'd they go? Said, did they not condemn thee? And she said, no, my Lord. He said, guess what? Neither do I. Go. But he did say, go and sin no more. So he put up on game. He gave us the wisdom, but he didn't condemn her. So see, we can't be looking at our nose and folks. And I know, like I go out soul winning, so I go out soul winning, and sometimes we out soul winning. We see folks, and like I said, they still living the life. I can't tell you how many times I and talk to guys, oh man, I'm hustling, so I don't want to get saved, and I'm doing this and that, and I want to get saved. And you know what I'm saying? And it breaks my heart. And sometimes, and matter of fact, I had this happen a couple of weeks ago. The guy that goes with me, he's like, man, I can't believe that we heard bringing them this gospel. They know they need to hear the gospel. They still don't want it. I can't believe they denying it. I said, bro, you got to think about it. You was in the same position a few months ago. I said, think about that. He like, man, it sure was. And I had to remind myself when I look at that, and it breaks my heart that to see these people, they're struggling and they don't realize the struggles they're going through is self-inflicted. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, how can they be denying this truth that I'm bringing them? You know, and a lot of sometimes, and the reason why it boggles my mind, sometimes it be obvious that God sent me to these people. Like with the way it worked out and the way our paths crossed, it was obvious that God was working. And yet these people still don't want to hear the gospel, still don't want nothing to do with it. And I'm like, man, how can this even be? Like, how could they not see? And then I think back, guess what? I used to be like that too. You know what I'm saying? I used to, I might be good. I might be cool now. I might have got my stuff together now. But 20 years ago, I would have been just like them. I wouldn't been trying to hear no preaching. I wouldn't be on here on no Monday night, you know what I'm saying, talking about Jesus 20 years ago. That wouldn't have happened. It's took me 2 years, so I had to grow into this. So I had to realize they're still in the same place I used to be. And the best thing I can do is pray for them. And when I have the opportunity to share some of the gospel with them, share the word of God with them so they can come and hopefully someday get the word. That's why I do these lists. I told y'all that before. Not that I'm perfect, not that I'm in a perfect spot with God, nothing like that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. But I do feel I have a pretty close walk with God. I know I feel the presence of God on my life every day. I know that God has used my life in a mighty way to influence the lives of others. I know that. I know that for a fact. And if you want to do the same thing, that's why I share these things with y'all. Again, not that I'm perfect. I still mess up. You know what I'm saying? I mess up all the time. You know what I'm saying? I still do stuff I'm not supposed to do. I'm not perfect by no means. But I have improved a lot, and I'm a way better person. I will say with confidence, I'm a way better person than I was 20 years ago because I've been walking with God for these last almost 20 years. You see what I'm saying? So I try to have that influence in your life. I try to be that good influence in your life so y'all can go out and influence others. It's very important to do that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't do it just to look down like I'm so great now. I remember where I came from. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I'm gonna read 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9. And this is a verse people use a lot of times when they trying to judge somebody. They always use this verse to judge. And you know what I'm saying? It makes me so mad because they always take it out of context. But if you read 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9, it says this. Chapter 6, verse 9, he said, don't you know that those who do wrong will have no share in the kingdom of God? Don't fool yourselves. Those who indulge in sexual sin, who are idol worshippers, adulterers, male prostitutes, homosexuals, thieves, greedy people, drunkards, abusers, swindlers, none of these will share the kingdom of God. You know what I'm saying? And they'll stop right there. See, it says that, you know what I'm saying, whoremonger ain't gonna get into heaven. See, it says that the gays are not gonna get into heaven. See, it says people who drink ain't gonna get into heaven. And see, because they stop right there. But if you read the next line, he says this. He said, there was a time when some of you was just like that. But now your sins have been washed away and you have been set apart for God and you have been made right with God because of what the Lord Jesus and the Spirit of our Lord God has done for you. So you got to take the rest of the verse. They always use that to try to condemn homosexuals and people out here living in the world. See, it said they not going to heaven. I know they're going to hell because it said it right there. I said, but what's the next line say? It said you was, in other words, before you got saved, you was the exact same thing. Before you got saved, whatever your sin was, that's what you was. If you was a whoremonger, you was a whoremonger. If you was a drunkard, that's what you was. If you was a homosexual, that's what you was. But once you got saved, and that blood of Christ washed over you and washed them sins away, you're no longer that. You're that child of God. You're an imperfect child of God. Yes, you're still not perfect because as long as we live in this flesh, as long as we stay in this body, we still going to do stuff we're not supposed to be doing. We still going to say things we're not supposed to say. We still going to go places we're not supposed to go. But we have those sins, they've been washed away. They're far away from us as the east is from the west. So you got to understand that. You got to remember that. You know what I'm saying? The only reason why you have that righteousness is about what? Because of what God did. What Jesus Christ, he said, your sins have been washed away and you have been set apart for God and you have been made right with God because of what the Lord Jesus Christ did and the Spirit of our God has done for you. Not because, like I said, not because I'm so handsome, not because I'm so smart, not because I'm so wise, not because I'm such a hard worker. It's simply because of the grace of God, what Jesus Christ did for me when he died on the cross. That what got me where I'm at. So the fact that that is what got me where I'm at, how can I sit here and take this credit? How can I look down my nose at somebody else that's still living their life? Because that's the same life I used to live before Jesus Christ got a hold of me. That's why I put so much effort and so much time into trying to help people get saved, help people get Jesus Christ to their life so they can get there. What I'm saying, I'm trying to get you where I'm at. Because I know it's because Jesus Christ came into my life. That's what got me where I'm at. So that's why I try to work to get other people. That's why I do these lessons. You know what I'm saying? I know they be long and I apologize. Y'all see I be wanting to, but I be so passionate about this, man. Especially when I get to going, I can't help the Spirit just take over me. And I'm like, Lord Jesus, I want to do a short lesson tonight. You're like, no, you got something for the people they need to hear. You know what I'm saying? But I do it because I want y'all to understand how significant it is. I want y'all to understand how important it is to make these decisions. And more important, I want y'all to understand how important it is not to forget these things. Don't forget these things. Don't forget that the ground is even at Calvary. Just because you didn't got yourself together, because the Lord has blessed you and put you in a better place, don't mean you can go back and look down on those folks. No, I can't go back to North Memphis and look down on those dudes that still stand on the corner because I didn't know what I'm saying, made it to Waverly. I'm living in somewhere with a white picket fence. I can't go back and look down on them. I need to go back and try to bring them up to where I'm at. And the only way you're gonna be able to do that is through Jesus Christ. And the only reason why you was able to do it is through Jesus Christ. So don't forget that. So that being said, y'all, I'm going to stop right there. I'm right at 2 hours, even though I didn't intend to be. I only got through the first 3 points, but I told y'all it's going to be a while because this is a good lesson, man. And when Samuel, he was getting ready to leave, and, man, he was leaving them with some truth bombs, man. And I hope y'all will stay through the series and get these truth bombs, man, because it's good. So, again, the title of the lesson, A Farewell to Remember. And like I said, I'm just going to be going over these next 3-4 weeks, however long it takes. I'm going to be going over this lesson, this chapter of 1 Samuel chapter 12, and I'm going to give you things that you need to remember, things you need to forget. So tonight we just covered 3 points. The first one was don't forget you get what you ask for. So be sure you ask for the right things. Again, if you're living outside the will of God, you're asking for the bad things to come into your life, and you living within the will of God, you ask for the good things to come into your life. That was number 1. Number 2, don't forget to ask for the right influences in your life. You know what I'm saying? This is crucial for living a God-filled life. Again, make sure you're praying every day for the Lord to bring the right people in your life so they can have the right influence in your life. And so and make sure you're doing the same for your kids and your family. And then number 3, don't forget that the ground is even in Calvary. Don't be looking down your nose at nobody. You have no leeway. I don't care if you did get your little self together over the last few years. There was a point where you didn't have yourself together. And the only reason why you are where you are now is because of the Lord Jesus Christ. Make sure you remember that. So with that being said, y'all, like I said, that's going to be the end of the lesson tonight. I'm going to go ahead with my ending announcements. Of course, as always, if there's anything in particular I haven't covered already that you want me to talk about, please reach out to me and let me know. I can work to my lesson plan. As of right now, God willing, next Monday, it'll be part 2 of this lesson. If y'all really enjoyed this, come back. You know, I got a lot more for you. So I'm hoping to get to a little bit more tonight, but I just got a little ahead of myself. But come back next Monday, 7 o'clock. Lord willing, I'll be here, and we'll do part 2 of this lesson, A Farewell to Remember. Also, if you're with my lost sheep people, the ones that I meet in person, we will be having our meeting tomorrow night. So I'm going to pick y'all up at your regular time. Make sure if you need a ride, if you're not going to be there, to let me know. But I'll be by to pick you up tomorrow night. At the normal time that I normally pick you up, you guys that go. Also, don't forget, y'all, this Sunday special, man, I'm so excited about it. Matter of fact, Miss Renee is on here, and I won't go forget Renee, but this Sunday night, I've been invited to be a special guest. A young lady that I went to TSU with back in the day, her and a friend of hers, they have a podcast, and they do every other Sunday at 7 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. So this Sunday, they're going to have a podcast. They invited me, of all people, to come on there and be a special guest. And the subject that we're talking about is going to be submitting to your mate. If you ask me, it's 2 women, and I'm talking about submission. Sound a little set-up-ish to me, but I'm there. I'm going to have the Holy Spirit with me, so I ain't going to be there alone. But, man, y'all, please tune in this Sunday night. I'm going to put a post on my Facebook, and I'll tag y'all in, especially my listeners that's always here. And, man, I hope y'all will tune in. Like I said, it's this Sunday night. It'll be 7 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and the page is called The 40 Spot. So look for it. You can find it on YouTube. I believe you can find it on YouTube. Definitely on Facebook. I believe we're going to be on Facebook Live and any other platforms where they have podcasts there. You can find it. The 40 Spot is the title, and I will be there this Sunday as a special guest. And man, I'm excited about it. I've always wanted to do a podcast or something like that. So please, y'all, turn in and support these young ladies. I've been listening to them. They have a great show, and I'm excited to be a part of that. So again, I'm gonna tag y'all in it, my listeners, so y'all can remember. But this Sunday night, 7 o'clock. There's July the 23rd. at 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. Look for find the site, the 40 spot, and I will be on there as a special guest talking about submission to your mate. So y'all remember that. As always, keep sharing my videos, telling people about my videos. I appreciate y'all doing that so this ministry can grow and this word can get out there. Of course, I didn't really talk about salvation as much tonight, but if you are saved, if you're not sure about your salvation, please reach out to me and let me know. And I will go schedule some time to go over the plan of salvation with you, because that's the most important decision that you will ever make in your life. You need any kind of spiritual counseling and things of that nature. You got some questions about the Bible you understand, reach out to me and let me know, and I will set up some time to go with you over there. And last but not least, this is my YouTube channel. Of course, y'all know this is my Facebook channel, the one y'all are on. This is my YouTube channel. I know I felt so bad. Like, I looked at Renee and them, they got a little thing they put up at the end and with all this stuff. I just got this little piece of paper, man. I'm not technological like that, but this is my YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube, search God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries. You put that in. Make sure you subscribe, so whenever I put a video on there, you can see. I am current. All my videos that I've done on Facebook are on there, and it's the same stuff. So if you watch it on Facebook, you don't have to watch it on YouTube. But if you want to go back and watch a lesson or something like that, it's a lot easier to find on my YouTube page than it is my Facebook page, because I'm always getting tagged in silly memes, especially ones dealing with being late all the time, because I'm always late. So with that being said, thank y'all for joining me tonight. Again, I hope y'all will join us Sunday night at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time on the 40 spot. And also next Monday at 7 o'clock, y'all be back for part 2 of this lesson. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pray and get out of here. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us. Thank you so much for this lesson, Lord. I was excited about doing it because it's something new. We're getting away, like, not that we don't need to talk about your will, but we've been covering that for quite some time, and felt like I was beating a dead horse a little bit. And I'm glad that you gave me chapter 12, because it's taking us in a different direction. But I thank you for this lesson, these words that you give me tonight. Thank you for giving me the ability to put this lesson together. Thank you for give me the ability to share this lesson with others, Lord. And I pray that this lesson will touch their hearts, give them some things to think about, give them some things they need to remember as they go about their life and try to live, to walk that path that you have for them to walk, Lord. And I pray just keep us all safe and protected as we go about this night. Continue to keep your wall of protection around us, Lord. As always, Lord, please, you know what I'm saying? Just like I told them earlier, please influence the people that are in my life, Lord. Help the right people be in my life. And I pray that you give me the wisdom and influence I need. They continue to be the right person in the lives of others, so I may be able to continue to lead them in the direction they need to go, so they may come towards you. I ask you to just continue to shine your love and grace down upon us all. Continue to shine your mercy and grace down upon us all. Guide us in the direction we need to go, so we can do the work that you have for us to do. And Lord, I pray wholeheartedly for the day when the world as a whole will humble ourselves, pray, seek your face, and turn from our wicked ways, so you may hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal our lands. Thank you so much for tonight. Pray this lesson will help bless others and bring others closer to you. And I pray you just continue to watch over me, my family, this ministry, and all my ministry members. Give us the encouragement we need, the power, love, and wisdom of our lives, so we may continue to go forth doing the work you have for us to do. We love you so very much. Thank you for this session tonight and this time to spend in your word. And we say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, y'all, that's it. I'm sorry I rushed through the prayer at the end because I'm over 2 hours. I try to at least stay under 2 hours, but I'm just a couple minutes over. But again, man, I hope that y'all enjoyed this lesson tonight. And again, I hope y'all will come back next Monday at 7 to get part 2. And most definitely check us out, the 40 spot, 6 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Gonna be some juicy stuff. I am looking forward to it. But until then, I love you all. Continue to pray for me. I continue to pray for y'all. And remember to always, always, always watch your back and pray. Till next time, I love y'all. Peace.